All right, folks, big day, shalom, and welcome to my broadcast here from the land of Israel. Yishai Fleisher back in the good land. I was stuck outside the land, but b'siyata d'shmaya, with the help of God, I made it back into the land via Amman, as we say in Hebrew, derech lo derech, which means a road, but not a regular road. And it was definitely a challenge to get to the good land. But Baruch Hashem, I made it on Friday to the good land in the land of Israel. And now we are back in the land and broadcasting. And so I got in, I got into the land of Israel on Friday, and I landed in Amman at like 4:30 in the morning. And then soon afterwards, it took a long time. It took like a good 6 hours to cross from Amman airport and to get to the land of Israel. But once I got there, I got home, and almost an hour after I got home, big sirens, scary sirens, and it was like, Israel's in danger, and now I'm here to kind of share that danger with Israel. But then it's Friday night, Shabbat. Wow, Shabbat at home, Baruch Hashem, and trying to get some rest and get some sleep. And then Saturday night, we find out Saturday night was calm. And then Saturday night, Sunday morning, we start hearing the amazing stories of the attack, the American assistance to the attack that Israel has made already last Thursday, the HaLevi, the nation as lions attack that Israel made on Iran, that was now assisted, or what's the word I should use? Alley-oop, is that the word I'm looking for here? Whatever it is, in halachic Jewish language, we would call it makeh bepatish, to finish off what was started, and that was to strike hard at the Iranian nuclear sites, including the underground Fordo site that was kind of well described in Top Gun Maverick type thing, right? And so Israel had attacked already all the surface-to-air missiles, not all of them, but many of them, eliminated the capacity of Iran to strike at jets flying overhead, opened up the airspace, and that made way for the stealthy B-2 Spirit bombers to come in and drop big ordnance on the Fordo site. Let's watch a little bit about how Fox describes. I'm in the wrong thing. Let's see how Fox describes the actions of the last few days, and the American assistance to destroy the nuclear capacity of Iran.
Out of the Middle East, the United States carrying out a highly precise military operation last night, knocking out 3 of Iran's most important nuclear sites. We're getting our first images of the strikes overnight. 6 of America's 30,000-pound, 20-foot-long bunker buster bombs were used for the first time in warfare to strike the core of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. It's being hailed as an unprecedented and largely successful attack. The 3 nuclear sites targeted in this mission, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, significantly setting back Iran's ability to produce a nuclear weapon. Todd, send it over to you.
Griff, thank you.
Okay, so that was a short but tight explanation of what transpired. And I have to tell you that today Israel is celebrating. I'm not saying that there's dancing in the streets, but I am saying that people understand that a great threat that has existed for tens of years against us and was about to be actualized against Israel has been averted, has been destroyed. Just to give you, today people are making so many comedy kind of videos. Here's a little comedy video about how people are feeling about the situation. Okay, if you don't know what this is referring to, this is right out of the Purim story where Haman, and this is instead of Haman, it's Khamenei, walking around Mordechai, and in this case, it's actually Prime Minister Netanyahu, through the streets of Tehran. And in that story, it was Shushan, but it was still in Iran. And so here's the way people are feeling about that Haman is indeed parading Netanyahu through the streets. All right, and there's Netanyahu handing out cookies, Haman ear cookies to the people of Iran. All right, so that's just the spirit of victory and joy that people are feeling, but it's not a joy of like, wow, everything is honky dory. This is so great. You know, what a great day. It's a joy of victory over enemies who are very dangerous still, very dangerous still. Just to give you a sense of what happened yesterday in Beersheba. Look at this.
הלך לי הבניין. פגיעה ישירה בבניין שלנו, מוטי. תראה מה הולך לי בבניין, מוטי. תראה מה הולך לי בבניין, מוטי. תראה מה הולך בבניין. תראה מה הולך לנו בבניין, מוטי. תפרק לנו הבית.
Okay, our house was destroyed, Moti. Our house had a direct hit. Our house is gone. That's how people are also feeling. So it's not like there's a giant relief, but there is a sense of great victory, and there's also a great sense that Prime Minister Netanyahu came up with the goods, and there were some naysayers, including Moa. Okay, right over here. I too was one of the people who had some doubt whether Netanyahu could pull it off. And I had that doubt, given that I still think that it was a correct assessment that October 7th and everything that happened then was the fault of the Israeli leadership, including Netanyahu. And I didn't know if they had the guts to fix it. But indeed, the Air Force of Israel, Prime Minister Netanyahu's 25-year commitment to stopping the Iranian nuclear bomb, and October 7th as a failure led to the great success of yesterday. What should we call it? Should we call it the June 21st? June 20, what is that holiday in America called? June 19th or something? Juneteenth. Like what is this holiday called? The holiday of the victory? I don't know. I'm not sure. But one thing is for sure is that Netanyahu's diplomacy, coupled with a lot of, and we're going to see videos about that, a lot of trickery and a lot of causing people to think that America and Israel have a rift between them. Things that really were very believable were indeed ways to kind of psyop, to get us to think different ways, and in fact prepare for this attack. I want to watch some of those videos, but I don't want to do it alone. I want to do it with the co-hostess with the mostest, Malkah Fleisher. Malkah, shalom, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Yishai. Good to have you back.
I think your volume is once again a little bit high. If I could ask you to lower it just a tad there on your input,
How's
that would be
okay?
nice. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Great. Malkah, let's watch a video. Let's watch a few videos before we get to the most important video. Let's watch J.D. Vance, a Vice President of the United States, explaining what this attack was all about.
For is if they attack us in a maximal direction, first of all, we have got maximum defensive posture. I think that we're going to be able to defend as many of our people as possible. And of course, I'd encourage Americans to pray for our guys in the Middle East because, yes, they are under a significant amount of duress and a significant amount of threat right now. But then, of course, John, if the Iranians attack us, they're going to be met with overwhelming force. And I don't think the president could be clear about this. If you look at what we did yesterday, John, we did not attack the nation of Iran. We did not attack any civilian targets. We didn't even attack military targets outside of the 3 nuclear weapons facilities that we thought were important to accomplish our goal of preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon. So how Iran responds, I think, is ultimately the ball is in their court. But if you look at what we did, it was very precise, very narrowly tailored to our objective. And if the Iranians decide to expand this, then that's ultimately their decision, and the President of the United States will respond in kind.
Okay, so that's go ahead, Malkah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, straightforward. There is so much emotion surrounding this American arrival on the battlefield, but really it's very, if you take out the emotion and just look at the dry information, it makes a lot of sense factually that the United States would get involved. They offered a diplomatic path. They offered it for 2 months. Everybody understood that Iran was developing a nuclear weapon. And we're not talking about Iran developing a nuclear weapon. We're talking about the Ayatollahs and their modesty police creating a nuclear weapon. A country which has blown up American soldiers, which has financed the whole conflict between Israel and the quote unquote Palestinians that has tried to assassinate President Trump. That is like a boogeyman in the Middle East. Trump comes in, he doesn't immediately threaten with violence. He's like, listen, let's do diplomacy. Let's make a deal. They go, no, we don't want to make a deal. Waffle, waffle, waffle. Israel clearly attacks Iran. We're tired of this. We want, I think Netanyahu wants to build a legacy in which Israel finally gets to sit in peace in this region and really to achieve that, which is an incredible goal that Yishai, you were just saying that we never thought like would really happen, you know?
Yeah.
That he would like really actually do it, that he would really truly go for it. It was something that, you know, these missiles that are falling on Israel, they are way serious business. Everybody can see the images of what's happening. One of the missiles fell today in Ramat Aviv, northern Tel Aviv, which is known to be like an upscale bourgeois part of Tel Aviv. And that place got like just rattled to the foundations. I mean, it is.
These are giant, supersonic, ton worth of TNT, super powerful things. Like there are some reports, not from the Israeli side, that Israel is not able really to stop them totally.
Right.
And the fact
we can see that has been proven that Israel cannot stop them totally. I don't think they're just letting them through for funsies. You know?
And ironically, Malkah, I think it's actually important for Israel to be hit, only in the sense that nobody should think that this is that we have some kind of panacea against Iran, that we're like a superpower against Iran. Like Iran is a formidable
I don't know
enemy.
if it's important, but it's happening, and so therefore it's real, and therefore we need to do something. But the point I wanted to only make from that is that even with all that, and it's crazy. I mean, you've already played just like a tiny little bit of the videos of what's happening to people's lives, and their property is just being decimated. Their homes are being destroyed. With all this, I am not hearing a lot of criticism for this mission here inside Israel.
Right.
People are sitting in their bomb shelters. Kids are missing their last weeks of school. You know, our son, Elazar, was supposed to graduate from grade school this week, tonight, in fact. He was supposed to have his graduation from grade school. It has been minimally pushed off. It was supposed to be a week filled with like end of year activities, you know, field days and movies and saying goodbye to your teachers, saying goodbye to your class, all kinds of graduations. All that's gone. Not to mention that you, Yishai, were stuck outside of Israel. There's other people stuck outside of Israel. There's people stuck inside Israel who can't get outside, right? It's really affected our daily life. We've been in shelters. We wake up in the middle of the night with alarms. We wake up early in the morning with alarms. It's affected everything. Yeah. But yet Israel, it seems, is pretty unified in its understanding that this is necessary. And we are all eager to see the fruits of this mission ripen in front of our eyes. We all really want to see the miracle that we've been waiting for, which is true peace in the land. We looked to the United States as a potential partner in that, obviously for us, right? Obviously, we want this for us, but really as something that can bring peace also just to all the rest of the world. This is not a regime that is good for this world, that wants good for liberality. And when I say liberal, I don't mean it in the like American political sense. I mean liberal like liberty. They don't want liberty for people. I just saw a video today from Iran that was smuggled out of Iran of there's this like little festival. And a little girl is like, there's some music playing in the back and she's just dancing. This like little girl, she must have been 6 or 7 or 8, something like that. And like in swoops, this like black veiled banshee, right? This ghost woman who swoops in and she starts to criticize the mother and shuts down the little girl from dancing, right? Now, I'm not advocating for a world in which we like don't have any, values or religious values or anything like that, that everything needs to be some kind of like atheism. We need to just rip out religion out of the world or something like that. That's not, look at me. right? Like that is not what I'm advocating for. But what I'm saying is that this Iranian regime is a regime of oppression and fear and violence that wants people to have a relationship with it that is based on fear, a relationship on God that is based on fear, and just terror. And that is not something that is good or healthy for the world. I am very proud, aside from the fact that I want peace for my own children, and I don't want my children to have to fight in any more wars, and I don't want my children to have to fear terrorism or bad people in their streets. I want them to live the kind of life that we all dream of for our children. Aside from that, I am very proud personally of the thought that perhaps what we are doing today could help the people of Iran, the women, the men, the elderly, the children, help them to build the kind of society that they originally set out to build.
Well, let's see that, Malkah. Let's see a little bit of the reactions in Iran. If you're mentioning it already, let's take a look at some of the reactions in Iran. Check this out. That video is amazing. It looks just like when the Berlin Wall fell. But also, what's interesting is I was on Piers Morgan, and I was going off against this guy named Omar Badar, and I said, Omar Badar, he is trying to make it look like it's Israel against Iran, when in fact millions of Iranian people are with us and want to see the end of that regime. And he's like, no, they're not. That's such a fake thing that you're talking about. I'm like, but it's all over the internet. Here's videos, and I got more. And he's like, it's only 3 people, you and your friends. And, and he was just trying to obfuscate that. And there it is, right in front of your eyes. And I have more videos like that to play. The bottom line is that Iranian people, I don't know if they're necessarily throwing off the regime or not. I don't know. And that's really up to them. Or maybe they need help because the bad guys have so many guns and are willing to be violent against them. But the bottom line is that clearly millions of Iranians are not happy. And this is a moment where they're going to get a chance, if not a fast liberation, then a slow liberation. And you're totally right that this is good for Iran right now. This is good for the Iranian people. It's good for this region. It's really a better day for this world. It's a better day for this world. Malkah, let's watch another video because I want to get to the very special video that I have. But before I do, let's watch Netanyahu's announcement of this operation in English.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
All right. Very powerful words from somebody who clearly had a victorious moment. And it's important to understand that this operation is something that Netanyahu has been planning, worried about, talking about, thinking about for literally 25 years. So tonight is in some ways the finality of also an era and a man who leads Israel, who's made mistakes that in many ways empowered our enemies, and yet tonight crushed the enemies, and empowered liberty, as you said before. It's just a very powerful moment. And I think that people in Israel, and I don't know if people around the world quite understand, it was a tremendously powerful moment in the world. Nazism was pushed back yet again today.
Absolutely, Yishai. Here in Israel, the word jubilation can't really be used because we're still under attack.
Right.
People still lost their homes today. People were hospitalized today. And this is clearly not over. When you talk about like the finality, I would just push back on that. Like, we're not at finality yet. I mean, we have definitely seen something with our eyes that I think many of us never dreamed that we would see. And it's amazing. And it's like,
I'm not sure it's the beginning of the end, but it's definitely the end of the beginning, in the words of Churchill.
It's definitely an incredible, it is like a new dawn. It seems like a new era. We do have to continue to push and to stay strong. And you know, the Pikuda Oref, the, what's it called? The
civil guard, rear guard,
the people who protect you on the home front command. The home front command re-tightened up the restrictions again today. People who wanted to go to the gym or go to work couldn't do that today.
There were airplanes on the way to the land of Israel. There was one airplane that I was supposed to be on. I already got home earlier, but there was an airplane that was turned around in midair. People who were like so looking forward to get home, they were turned around in midair. So that's so very tough.
But Malkah, I wanted to say,
finish your thought, because I want to get to the video that you wanted to see.
Okay, good. I just wanted to finish the thought though, and say that the feeling is not jubilation, but there is incredible joy and there is incredible gratitude to Hashem, to the Trump administration, to Prime Minister Netanyahu, the chief rabbi of Tzfat, who is a nationally renowned rabbi. Rav Shmuel Eliyahu declared that people should not say a part of the daily prayers, which is kind of like a sadder part, a regretful part, a mournful part of prayers. He's like, cut it out for today. We're not saying that today. There are people who said a special prayer is called Hallel, which is reserved for extra special occasions, which is reserved for special holidays. Some people said that prayer today. Prime Minister Netanyahu, Yishai, went back to the Kotel. I don't know if you remember, but he began this mission, Rising Lion, Am Kelavi. He began at the Kotel with the Prime Minister of Argentina. He wrote a note in the wall that said, a nation that rises like a lion. And then the next day was the attack on Iran. He went back to the Kotel today with his wife to thank God for the success of this mission and pray for the Trump administration and for President Trump himself.
Let's see that, Malkah. Let's see that video.
Itself like a mind-blowing vision for the people of Israel, to see our Prime Minister get this huge surge of faith inside and huge connection to Hashem and our traditions. It's like things are evolving here really fast.
Let's watch this video. Malkah, let's watch the video of Bibi at the Kotel.
Okay.
ערב הפעולה ההיסטורית.
10 days, what did he say? לפני 10 ימים? What was it? I forgot, I missed it.
לפני 10 ימים.
Yeah, 10 days ago, we started on a historic mission.
ערב הפעולה ההיסטורית של עם ישראל. אני עמדתי פה.
So the eve of this big Israeli beginning of the attack on Iran, I stood here at the Western Wall.
ושמתי פתק.
And I put in a note at the Western Wall.
בפתק היה כתוב, "אין עם כלביא יקום."
And in that note, it said, the nation will rise up like a lion. This is from the Torah portion of Balak, which is the story of the prophet Bilam, and how he's cursing the Jews, and it turns out to be blessings. So one of the phrases is, a nation will rise up like a lion.
עכשיו אחרי 10 ימים.
By the way, just speaking of marketing, this whole operation, like Hen Am Kelavi Yakum, like a nation will rise up like a lion, Israel's a lion, like that was a good one. That was a good one. And guess what? It was a good one because it went biblical. Go biblical. It was a good
one in more ways than one, though, Yishai. I don't know if you know, but on the flag of Free Iran, meaning to say not the current Iranian flag, but the Free Iran flag, there is a lion holding a sword. So I don't even know if that was planned in to this name brand that you're talking about, but it's like really, really significant.
Yeah.
A certain tie between the Jewish people and the Persian people.
Okay, let's keep going with Prime Minister Netanyahu at the Kotel. Just a few more seconds. He's like, now 10 days later, I come to the same place. And I'm putting in a different note. And what does this note say? It says, a nation like a lion has risen, has indeed risen. The nation of Israel lives. We're going to continue. We're going to continue to materialize wonders and miracles. We're going to actually make them happen. That's cool. That's a cool phrase. It's an interesting phrase. It's not a usual phrase. We will enact wonders and miracles in order to assure the eternity of Israel. Also, not very simple phrases. Eternity of Israel is also a biblical phrase from the book of Samuel 1. But this that we're going to ensure the eternity of Israel. There's a lot of I say this in a loving way. There's a lot of pathos there. There's a lot of Holocaust imagery there. There's a lot of like, I'm going to take matters into my own hands, which is a Zionistic a thought that like, yes, Jewish history is eternal, but we have to take matters into our own hands. So he's kind of weaving together both biblical promises and the actualization that happens through the Israeli Air Force and others in the security services that he's in charge of. And we're going to do that for generations. Oh, and that's what I wanted to say to you previously, Malkah. Oh, you know what? I just wanted to stop and say, the world, listen to this, Malkah, listen to this. The world is a better place for our children today. That's what I wanted to say. I wanted to tell you that before. And remind me after the broadcast. I want to put that up on X and that kind of stuff. Like, the world is a better place for our children. The world was about to be a worse place for our children, where a lot of anti-Israel, a lot of Israel hate all over the world, and the sense that we are like not on top of it, and we've allowed our bad guys to make a noose all around us. And I've been complaining about that noose for a long time. And in the last almost 2 years, that noose has been cut down. And quite the opposite. Israel's bigger today. It's been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking and losing since the 6-Day War. And suddenly, in the last 2 years, we've been growing again and cutting back on that news. And the world is a bit of a better place for our children today, Malkah. Yours and mine.
That's help. We got to keep going, but absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's finish this off. I am proud of our nation, says Prime Minister Netanyahu. That's like the closest you get to a selfie with God right there, okay? That's the selfie with God, okay? Holy moly, like what a
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, one honestly spiritual moment. And I'm getting all these bad guys on my on our feed right now, writing all things like F Israel and stuff like that. Thank you for helping with the algorithm. Really. Thank you very much for getting our light to more people through your junk. Malkah, there is one more video that I've been really wanting to share with you. Let's do it now. That was a highly spiritual video of a man who's, I think, gone through a process. He still has some things to fix. For example, Hebron. Hebron gave it away, 97% of it to the enemies of Israel. That could still be rectified. There's rectification that's happening here. But let's see another man who's changed somewhat through his experiences and did a big thing for America, for Israel, and for the world yesterday, and that is President Trump himself. Let's see what he said in a 2.5-minute press conference. There they come. Here they come. They look quite serious, and because this is very serious.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military.
I want to just mention that one thing, which is tonight I can report to the world. Like tonight, I'm speaking on a world stage, and I am the leader of the free world, and I'm going to let you know what I did as the leader of the free world. Very strong. By the way, before we go on, I just want to say I just got a super chat. I'm an Ethiopian American living in New York, and I stand with Israel. God bless President Trump, and God bless our hero, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank you very much for that. And I just want to remind people that a great way to communicate with us is through super chats here on the live stream. And you can like, comment, super chat. Check out our store. Malkah, don't forget to bring me that bottle. And
I brought it to you. It's there in your room.
Oh, look at this. Oh, look at this. The Yishai Fleisher. You're a part of it wherever you are. Water bottle. Blessed are you, God, King of the universe, who creates everything. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shakol niyeh b'dvaro.
Amen.
Camel. I don't know how to use the thing so well.
It has a straw. You just drink.
Okay. I'm learning it. Anyway, it is good, and you can get it at our store. Check it out. And there's great ways to support us and support what we're doing, especially through our website, fightforisrael.org, where you could fight for Israel by helping us buy tractors, helping us beautify the land, helping us continue to broadcast through Yishai Fleisher TV and all of our ways that we're getting out the message to the world. Baruch Hashem. And of course, people love the buymeacoffee.com/Yishai option. So thank you very much. That's awesome. Here is President Trump reporting to the world.
Success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before.
That's a huge moment, right, Malkah? I see you nodding your head, shaking your head. Tell me why that's such a big moment. Well, look at that, your face. You're like, yeah, this is.
What are my eyeballs seeing? We're talking about the President of the United States of America. He did one of the boldest moves a U.S. president has done since Harry Truman. And he is spending, I mean, certainly with great reason, he should be praising his country and his soldiers, which he does in his speech. But he's also takes a moment to recognize Israel and what we have done to help neutralize the Iranian threat, and shows great respect for our Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and proclaims in front of the whole world the incredibly important and tight relationship between Israel and the United States. This is, I don't know if I have words for it. It's an astounding sight.
It is an astounding sight. I think the astoundingness of it all is that he just made, as you say, a historic attack on the enemies of goodness. And he's like, and my partner for that is Israel. That you're right. That's big. That's really, it's there's something I almost like, I don't, there's something messianic about the whole thing. It's when Edom unites with Israel, with Jacob, to fight bad guys in this world, the world is a better place. All right, let's
It's like two brothers coming back together.
Yeah. There you are. There I am. Okay, here we go.
And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States.
Malkah, these magnificent machines, the B-2 Stealth Spirit bomber, it's really rarely been used. I remember as when I was a kid, these things came out, and I was like a car kid and plane. I love cars and planes.
Yeah,
and
you were
guy stuff. Machines. Yeah, guy stuff. And I still like them to this day. But like, this is, I think they used them once before in 2000 around there. But like this, it was when they really operated. I think they operated also in Iraq when they were fighting there. But like, wow, like this thing really came to drop this big munitions. And right. Let's hope we don't know for sure if it all worked, but certainly he's claiming that it worked well, and we're going to find out soon. Let's keep going with President Trump.
Military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago.
And what he's talking about is not just the ability to strike, but also the ability to strike and to minimize, civilian casualties, which is part of it. It's like, we're not against you, Iranian people. We're against this mullah regime. We're trying to help the Iranian people. That's a very sensitive and sophisticated way of approaching a military strike.
Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel. And God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
To see these two leaders, talk about God overtly, and again, to fuse the technology, the military prowess, the courage of the men and women fighting, and then to do what you're supposed to do, is to take that strength and use it against evil, and then to thank God for giving you that strength. That's the formula for success.
It's true. I mean, I can't, there's so much to say. I'll start by saying I can't imagine the amount of blessing that must have been brought on the United States just through the speech, let alone through like all the actions behind the speech. I mean, it was truly a lesson for the people. He got up there like a leader and spoke to his nation, spoke to my nation, spoke to the world, and with simple messages. We will not tolerate evil. We sure do hope for peace, and we love you, God. It's amazing. Another thing I want to just say is that this whole exercise has really been a lesson in political psychology. You were talking about the B-2 bomber, Yishai. We woke up, last night, I think it was, read in the news when we came out of Shabbat that President Trump had moved his B-2 bombers to Guam, which is in the Pacific Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've been following the news for a long time, and we're interested in political psychology and what's really going on behind the scenes. And we're like, oh, that's not in the direction of Iran. Guam is all the way on the other side. And we were totally faked out, just like Iran was faked out.
No. I knew that they flew these missions from Missouri, from far away, and they fly.
I was faked out. Okay, yeah. I was faked out. I thought that I was like, oh, okay, they're moving to Guam. I mean, maybe they'll come back towards the Middle East at some point. Maybe they're giving it some exercise. I don't know. But, you know, I didn't realize that when I would wake up in the morning from a missile siren, I would wake up in the morning earlier than I expected from a missile siren. And our missile sirens give you a little bit of notice ahead of time, like 10 minutes warning. We have like a pre-warning and then the warning. There's pre-warning, which is 10 minutes. And then the warning, which is a minute and a half, you have to get to shelter. So in the 10 minutes, I'm like trying to open my, unscotch my eyelids. And you're looking at the news and you're like, what? The United States of America bombed the Iranian nuclear facilities. It was too unbelievable. It was too good to be true, but it wasn't too good to be true. It was real. Soon after that, we did get our real alarm that signaled missiles were incoming, and we ran to our shelter. But thank God here we are, and we're able to broadcast to you. Amen. And you are watching Yishai Fleisher TV live.
That's right, live from Judea.
And as you can see, our living room is still intact. Your studio is still intact. We are still standing. Baruch Hashem, Am Yisrael Chai.
Malkah.
I want to think we have literally thousands of viewers watching us live right now.
Absolutely. Malkah, do you want to see what Israeli pilots do? Malkah, do you want to see what Israeli pilots do as they're waiting on the long flight all the way to Iran?
Sure.
So there's some hidden footage that has just been released. I want you to see this.
What do you actually do during those long 2-hour flights to Iran?
You really want to know?
It needs more paprika, trust me. My savta make like this.
Iran, you can't stop Maccabi Tel Aviv, bro!
This song, it's called Yerushalayim Shel Zachav Metal Remix.
Yeah.
I believe I can fly.
Welcome to Falafel and Firepower, Episode 3. Today we discuss altitude and attitude.
איזה קצב, bro.
Okay, there you go. Malkah. That was a little bit of comedy out there. And it's not a comedic moment. There's still a lot of people who are injured. There's been a lot of people killed here in Israel, and there's even civilians killed on the other side that we lament. So it's not a joke. Any of this stuff is definitely not a joke. But we also find some moments for levity because we need it in this conflict. And Baruch Hashem, again, I say, I'm so thankful to be back home, to be broadcasting from the land of Israel. And I was abroad, and I have no problem with being abroad. And it's good to be in America. And I was in Brooklyn, and I was in Washington, and I was in Stanford, and I met a lot of good people, connected with a lot of good people. But the minute this war hit, I really felt that I needed to get back home, and the Lord brought me back nice and quick, and to broadcast with you, Malkah Fleisher, from the good land, from the land of Israel. Malkah, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Last words?
I just wanted to say I saw a bunch of super chats come up, Yishai. So, I got to say my piece, but I know that there are people around the world. We've received so many blessings and well wishes and displays of unity and good questions and things have been coming in. I know that people have so much to say and so much interest in what's happening here, and feel so connected that I want to make sure that their voices get out too.
All right, let's put up that super chat. Tom says Michigan for Israel.
Thank you so much.
And Tom, I just want you to know I just flew out of Michigan. I flew out of Detroit to get to Israel. Max says, despite the many insane politicians and Hamas sympathizers, we have a lot of Europeans who support Israel. Very good. That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much. I know that's true. I know that's true. I hope this is an empowering moment for those Europeans as well, who can see that real actions can be taken.
That's right. And by the way, and I've heard from a friend of mine who told me that today in Europe, the attack is not only against pro-Israel people, it's against evangelicals and Christians, pro-Israel people who are not Jewish, who are now under attack by the jihadis in Europe. So Europe is in a lot of trouble, and it's good to hear that there's a lot of love still there that we can capitalize on. And I'm sure that there's going to be more respect and love for Israel after this strength. Because if I could say one panacea in this world, the first panacea is faith in God, love of the Bible, okay? The other panacea is a strong Israel. Strong Israel is a better world when there's a strong Israel. Okay, Malkah Fleisher, I want to thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much, Yishai. Am Yisrael Chai, for real.
Yeah,
it looks like America Chai too.
Well, you're going to be a lot more Chai when you support Am Yisrael Chai.
Right.
That's just what it is. You support Israel, you get the blessings right back. And today, a whole heap of blessings came down on the United States and on Israel, which loosened its noose from its neck, and we had a great day of Yeshua, of redemption, and of salvation. But don't take that into like a faraway world. It's salvation on this earthly plane, and we got to do so much more, because if now we cut off the head of the Iranian terror regime, now we got to get rid of all the little bad guys in Gaza, in Lebanon, Syria, in Jordan, in Iraq, in Iran still, in Egypt, and certainly in the liberated areas of Judea and Samaria, where there's still tons of jihadism left. It's very close to home. We're going to have to still deal with that. We're going to have to utilize this moment to clean up this area. Malkah Fleisher, thank you so much for being with us.
God bless you.
God bless you. Toda rabba. You're awesome. Co-hostess with the mostest, Malkah Fleisher. Toda rabba for joining us. And you are watching live here from Judea. You're a part of it wherever you are. Just like the sippy cup says. See? You're a part of it wherever you are. Oh, it's backwards. Don't worry about it. Here's the Yishai Fleisher new Camelback. You can check it out on our store, which is a lot of fun, on Yishai Fleisher TV YouTube. Let me have a little bit of this. L'chaim, everybody. Come on, L'chaim. Oh, yeah, that is good. That is good stuff. Yeah, let's put up some of these super chats. Says KW New York Upstate, says, as an American, I know that the key to Middle East peace is the Iran regime change. Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, IRGC, etc., all gone. Great point. And let's watch some videos about what Iranians are thinking. I played one before. Here's another one. Okay, so in Tehran, crowds are chanting "Death to Khomeini" in front of a bombed regime building. Okay, let's see another one of these videos. I think I have another one here. Let's see it. So as you can see, it's not just a little bit of people. It's a lot of people out there. And as I was telling you, I was on the Piers Morgan show, and my interlocutor was saying to me, it's a tiny amount of people. And I'm like, no, you can see it in the videos. There's obviously street support. And I told a story there that I was in a Florida suit store. I walked in there, and this lady and I start chatting. She works at the store. And the minute she found out that I was Israeli, she really tried hard to help me. And I'm like, why are you trying so hard to help me get a suit? She's like, I know that what you're going to do is going to protect my people. She says, in Iran, they take our young protesters off the street, our young men, and they gouge their eyes out. She's like, we live under a horrific regime. I know that you're going to do something good about that. You know what? I think she was right. I think she was right in whatever small way I contributed, but certainly the Jewish state, what I call now the liberation nation, has certainly contributed to liberation. Let's get a sense of what exactly has transpired. And we have with us somebody who really does understand security issues. He's the author of 3 books, Shadow Strike Inside Israel's Secret Mission to Eliminate Syrian Nuclear Power, Weapons Wizard, How Israel Became a High-Tech Military Superpower, and Israel versus Iran, The Shadow War. And of course, it's Yakov Katz, who is an Israeli-American author and journalist and a senior fellow at the Jewish People Policy Institute in Jerusalem. And he was formerly the editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post. And I don't think there's anybody that we can have on that could give us a greater sense of what this attack was militarily and what it will mean for the future. Yakov Katz, thank you so much for joining me.
Yishai, great to be with you, man.
All right, awesome. So, boy, it's fun that you're writing the books that are really on topic right now. It must be a fun moment for you. I know that I got you after a different interview, which is really cool. So, all right, let's before we get to the to the what will be and the sociological and political. Give me a sense of the actual mechanics of what transpired. Give me a kind of technical sense of what you understand happened. How many bombers did they penetrate? I know that there's already messages from Iran saying we took out the enriched uranium. There's even pictures of some kind of convoy taking stuff out. There's claims that they did not make the strike was not successful. What do you understand on the technical sense before we get to anything else?
Well, first of all, it's great to be with you. What I would say is that don't believe a word that the Iranians say. They should never be believed on a good day, and definitely not on what is without a doubt, unequivocally, a very bad day for Iran. The day that the American government, the U.S. military, the most powerful military in the world, has decided to drop dozens of tons of weapons and bombs, precision-guided munitions on and into their nuclear facilities. What we know is that the U.S. President, Donald Trump, had been deliberating and debating whether he should get involved and whether he should do anything after Israel began this attack on June 13th. I think what happened was that he went into this very with great hesitancy and apprehensive. He was probably skeptical and doubtful. We know that the president is not one to like military adventures. He said all the time, I'm here to stop wars, not to begin new wars. And we also remember, Yishai, that when Israel began its attack on June 13th, the immediate response that came out of the White House and the State Department was, it's not us. We got nothing to do with it. It's not us. But then we saw as the hours went by and the success of what Israel did in decapitating the Iranian military leadership, in eliminating the top nuclear scientists, and taking out their air defense systems, and beginning to destroy the ballistic missile stockpiles and launchers, and of course, beginning to chip away at the nuclear facilities, Trump said, wow, this is a success. I want to catch a ride.
Capitalize it. Yeah,
exactly. So he started to get on board. And I think that's what ultimately led to this decision that he took, which was to send the B-2 bombers yesterday. 7 of them flew from their base somewhere in Missouri. They flew from there about 30-something hours all the way to Iran, where they eventually arrived in the area, multiple refueling along the way. They don't fly so fast because they're not supersonic. They're subsonic. They're slower. They are stealth. They carry their payload, which is their munitions, the bombs internally. But because they're so heavy, each of them was carrying 2 about 14-ton bombs. These are called the MOP, the Massive Ordnance Penetrator. It is the largest conventional weapon that has been ever made that we know of. America has only made maybe about 50 to 100 of them, so there aren't that many in the world at all. And they are also, their technical name is GBU-57. It is a bunker buster, probably the most powerful bunker buster that we know. They then dropped a dozen of them on Fordo, another 2 on Natanz, and then hit Isfahan with Tomahawk missiles that had been fired from submarines that were parked off the coast in the so-called Persian Gulf.
Why do you call it so-called?
Well, because if you talk to other countries in the region, like the UAE or the Saudis, they don't like calling it the Persian Gulf. They will call it the Arabian Sea. But we call its name is known as the Persian Gulf. But other Arab countries who we are more friendly with, as the country as Israel, they do not go with that name.
So, what about the reports that I was hinting to that you're saying discount what they're saying? It's not true. They weren't able to take out the enriched uranium. They were able to, because I have not seen videos. Have you seen videos of the actual bombing? Like, I don't think that's come out.
Right. So first of all, I mean, we don't know. Let's also just be honest. We don't exactly know. The U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, just held a press conference a couple hours ago, and they said that according under their estimate, the strike was successful and caused extensive damage both in Fordo, which was the Iranian secretive enrichment facility, as well as Natanz. Israel had caused a lot of damage to Natanz, but Natanz has multiple chambers. Some of them are deep below ground. And the one where they store most of the centrifuges is the lowest chamber. So there were questions of whether Israel had been able to penetrate that. If these GBUs did in fact penetrate the facility, the MOPs, the GBU-57s, then we can assume that those bottom chambers are destroyed. When you look at the satellite footage, what you see even in Fordo, because Fordo is burrowed into a mountain. It's about 100 meters deep. You don't see the mountain exploding. What you see are little holes in the mountain where the bombs went just right through, which itself
Did you ever see that movie, Top Gun Maverick? It's like kind of funny how like there's a hint of this whole thing there in that movie.
100%. That movie was about, getting the bomb through the ventilation system,
which is the same exact story as the Star Wars movies, right? Like to find the weakness. But in a sense, that's what happened here. A big flight, ordnance dropped, but trying to penetrate. Just like you're saying, these things actually burrow. You did see. Remember when they sent the bomb to kill the head of Nasrallah? Did you ever see that video? There was a video. It was a rare video, but you saw that this ordnance hit the ground, and then you saw that there was like a burrowing happening. There was like the earth being thrown up, not an explosion. And then only later on, way further down, did the ordnance release its explosive power.
I was of the belief, and from what I've heard from Israeli Air Force officers and defense officials over the years, Israel would not have gone into this if it didn't believe that it had some capacity or some capability to do something to Fordo. It would not have left it just for chance. The strategy could not have been, we'll do what we can do. We'll pray to God that Trump gets involved, but if he doesn't, we'll call it a day. No, this would not have been a success without Fordo being taken care of. Now, of course, America can do it to a far greater extent.
Wait. And what? So let's keep going on that track. What do you think the plan B was if America wouldn't have gotten involved? Was it
Israel? I think would have had two options. Option number one, which would have been the riskier option, and I'm not sure they would have done it, would have been to send in commando forces on the ground into Fordo to be able to sabotage, cause some damage, and try to penetrate the facility,
as the Shaldag forces did
exactly
in Hezbollah. And there's footage of them landing basically in a mountain, fortified mountain in Syria, getting in there and destroying it from within.
Right. That was a missile production facility that the Iranians had established in Syria, where they were trying to create another production line for their ballistic missiles. And Shaldag did go in on the ground. There's similarities, but differences. Similarities being commando operation on the ground in an enemy country, the ability to penetrate, to destroy, line it with explosives, and cause the damage needed. The difference is Syria is a little closer than Iran, so if you needed to extricate or exfil and you need to pull them out, you do have that ability much easier than you would in Iran. But again,
wait, hold on. But I hear rumors that there must be some kind of Air Force airstrip that Israel has, and I don't know, and I'm not going to give away any information. I don't know anything, but I understand that along the way there is something where Israel is able to refuel. There's some kind of base somewhere along the way. There's no way that we're operating all the way from Israel to Iran?
I can't confirm or deny, but there have long been rumors and reports of the possibility that there are three candidates for this to happen with. One would be Azerbaijan, which is a country that neighbors Iran and has very close ties to Israel. The Azerbaijanis the Azeris will tell you no way, never would happen, but that's long been touted as an option. Option number two is about a year ago, Israel normalized relations or established formal diplomatic relations with Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan is a country that is very much closed off from the world. Out of the stands, it's one of the more isolated ones, but it is a country that has a border with Iran, and those ties between Israel and Turkmenistan are believed to be of extreme strategic importance. And then let's also not forget is that there is Iraq and there is Kurdistan in Iraq.
Right.
And there's long been reports and speculation of Mossad presence in Kurdistan there. So there's a lot of different options.
Just to make it clear, I just don't want people to misunderstand that relationship is a very friendly one. If there is some kind of Israeli espionage, it's not against northern Iraq, Kurdistan.
No, exactly.
We have excellent relations, and just to kind of put a tie on that, I've spoken to many old Jewish Kurds or Jews that lived amongst Kurds. They always said that we had excellent relations with the Kurds. It's like an old and kind of a relationship of minorities, but not just a relationship of minorities. It's a relationship that has been friendly for many years. So that's important to kind of understand that. That makes sense, and of course it's much closer. Northern Iraq is much closer to Iran. Okay, that was option number one. You were going to hint to another option.
So again, I just want to really stress: I don't know that we don't know that these exist. These are just ideas that have been thrown around over the years. The second option would have been, and you just touched upon this, what Israel did to kill Hassan Nasrallah was believed to be something that just up until a couple of years ago, Israel didn't have that capability. And this wasn't necessarily a technological breakthrough. Israel has, over the last 2 years almost, since October 7th, has mastered the tactic of penetrating underground facilities. We've seen this all throughout the war in Gaza, in the destruction of tunnels, underground Hamas bunkers. We've seen this also in Lebanon, and Nasrallah was a perfect example. They had to drill through this bunker that he was hiding in to be able to get to him and for him eventually to be killed. So the idea that you could potentially take a lot of bunker busters, and the Israeli Air Force are really big experts at this, and drop one after the other, almost like a drill, imagine, really one after the other in consecutive, very swiftly. Potentially that could do something. And will you be able to penetrate completely? I don't know. Can you take out the entryways? Of course, but will they be able to rebuild that? So there's a lot of damage that you can do, but it wouldn't be at the same level again of what America can do with just drop with 6 B-2 bombers. That's all they needed to do it. They were able to take care of business in record time. And this is really, when you think about it, it's probably one of the most sophisticated, precise, and extensive bombing operations in modern military history.
So, we saw the Trump, just before you came on, we watched the Trump news conference, and behind him was J.D. Vance, who's the vice president, the Secretary of State Rubio, and Pete Hegseth, who's what are they called? Secretary of Defense, and who I actually spent time with personally in Hebron, and know well, and have a lot of respect for. Well, we know Hegseth is a military guy. We know that he's anti-jihad. Rubio, strong pro-Israel, comes from a pro-Bible and pro-security stance. J.D. Vance, on the one hand, intellectual, and we've heard him espouse some things that are a little bit more isolationist, and he has a kind of an isolationist wing that speaks to him. But at the same time, in some ways, what we saw was a type of America First isolationism. What I mean is, you see an Israel that's able to carry out attacks against your enemies, and you're like, okay, they're really doing it. Okay, now you coming in as what we say in a halachic Jewish world, makeh bepatish, to finish off the act that was already started by Israel, in a sense, proving what I heard Rubio say many times, which is Israel is the aircraft carrier for our policies in the Middle East. Okay, it needed the bigness that the United States brings, but even in the isolationist wing could swallow it. And also, by the way, for the liberal wing in general, Trump kept saying, I'm giving them a chance. I want them to come to the table. I want there to be peace. Okay, so let's shift a little bit to talk about, should we say, like, give me a sense of how you understand American policy at this moment vis-a-vis Israel. I mean, somebody once said to me, and we're speaking with Yakov Katz, who has written many books on these topics. Somebody once said to me, not so long ago, told me all of Trump's policy is actually China containment. And in a sense, this was a big step because it stepped a little bit into a world war, right? It a little bit said to the other powers, America's stepping in here. But it did it at the very end of a very successful Israeli run. It's sending a signal to China, to Russia. That's the way I understand it. How do you understand American policy at this moment?
So I like what you said just now, Yishai, because I think that there's no doubt that had we not been successful with the original strike and that opening salvo on June 13th, on that Friday, Donald Trump would not have joined this, right? The success breeds success. And I think there's something even deeper. When Israel is strong, we garner more support. People want to attach themselves to a powerful, strong Israel. We have conditioned ourselves, unfortunately, to some extent to believe, and I know you're not there personally, but this country to a large extent, we have to be miskenim. We have to be, the poor country, the isolated country, the weak country, the attacked country. And
small, just,
exactly.
Right, good.
Right. Yeah,
and a victim that can strike
We're the
back
victims.
From time to time.
Exactly.
It's what I call the neo-ghettoism or even neo-dehimitude.
And unfortunately, I think we've gotten so caught up in this idea that we believe that's the only way for us to get support. That's the only way for us to get friends. But I think this past week shows something completely different. Is that when we are powerful, when we are strong, that's when people say, "Hey, I want to stand tall with the state of Israel."
That's right.
And I think that's something that's just, you were hinting to that, and I just wanted to kind of pull that out. I think that when we look at the U.S. right now, there's no question. I think this just really underscores the courage that it took for Donald Trump to make this decision, because the military operation, again, the air defense systems had been taken out. I mean, these B-2 bombers are the most sophisticated aircraft that the U.S. military has. By the way, they only have them. They don't sell them to anyone. They're they go for about $2 billion. I mean, this is what a strategic bomber looks like and costs. That's not the big heavy lift, right? Was this strike? What was Donald Trump saying, I am going to join Israel. I am going to finally do what no president before me has done. I'm going to put the missiles where my mouth are. And I'm going to really stand by the promise that Iran will not be allowed to get nuclear weapons. I'm going to raise the level of the Israel-U.S. alliance to an unprecedented level, which is what we saw happen overnight and early this morning. But I'm also going to go up against the faction in my own party, in my own house, that does not think this is the right move. And we know that is a strong faction. You know these people like I do.
And we saw a shift vis-a-vis people like Tucker Carlson and the president, who we understood to be close to Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson helped President Trump win the elections. And yet in the last few days, he publicly turned on him. President Trump turned on the kind of, the word isolationist is not a fair word. Let's call it, some people call it woke conservatism. There's a lot of different words for it, but whatever it is, it's definitely an anti-Israel stance where there was even an attack on this wild interview between Tucker Carlson and
Senator Ted Cruz.
Yeah. Senator Ted Cruz. was like a wild scene there. And he's like, is this the Israel of the Bible? Is this the Israel of today? And he was trying to take that whole thing apart, which a whole bunch of American pro-Israelism stands upon, right? And you saw that the president like publicly started turning on him.
So the president has turned on Carlson. He's turned on Tulsi Gabbard, who's the director of national intelligence, who, by the way, was not in the Situation Room.
Wow.
When this whole operation went down. JD Vance, this is not what he believes in. He does not believe in this interventionism. So for Trump to make the decision,
but wait, just I want you to speak about that for 1 second. Interventionism, like on the other hand, aren't the Houthis an Iranian proxy slowing down global trade? It's not just interventionism. This is actually an American problem. Right?
Well, I totally agree with you. I mean, listen, if the president would have asked me, I would have said, listen, Mr. President, this is first and foremost for you to deal with because this is your interest as the United States president. This has nothing to do with Israel. When the Iranians walk through the streets and chant death to Israel, the next thing they say in the same breath is death to America, right? Mm-hmm. They are responsible for, and the president said this himself in his 3-4 minute address in the White House, they have killed 1,000 U.S. servicemen with IEDs and provisions to militias in Iraq that fought against American troops. They were behind the 1983 Marine barracks bombings in Beirut, the 90s, the Kober Tower bombings. They have been behind so much anarchy, chaos, and bloodshed over the years, over decades. They took hostages in the U.S. Embassy back in 1979. I mean, these are bad people and a terrible regime that is anti-America first and foremost. And there's one other aspect that we can't ignore. Their enrichment of uranium served only one purpose: to obtain a nuclear bomb. There was no question. Simply because they didn't need it, and you definitely, even if you claim it's for civilian purposes, you don't need uranium enriched to anything higher than about 5%. They were already at 60%. This was all about a nuclear weapon. So this was first and foremost for America. But even with that, I think that people like J.D. Vance definitely came in with a fear that, and this fear still exists, and we don't know how this will yet play out. You attack Iran, what does Iran now do? And does this not draw you in to a conflict that can spiral out of control? And next thing you know, your entire four-year presidency is defined by this pivotal moment. And I think that's what that group want. It's not that they're anti-Israel. I don't think J.D. Vance is against Israel. Right. I don't think he's against America, right? He's not pro-Iran, but he wants to focus on immigration. He wants to focus on the economy. He wants to focus on the judicial system. They have issues within that's where they want to put their focus. And we know that what could happen here is you could go down a rabbit's hole that you don't know where it's going to end. Right.
But on the other hand, if you don't deal with the problem, that's also a rabbit hole. It's easy to put our head in the sand and say there's not a problem there. But I guess the President Trump really, he made that decision. He made the decision that this is a global problem and an American problem and an Israeli problem. And through that, did an amazing attack on these nuclear sites, and also raised Israel up to a level of an ally, a powerful ally in this world, and raised up kind of the name of Israel powerfully. Now, let's shift gears for a second. I mean, we can talk about all these topics for so long, but let's just shift a different gear. And we are talking with Yakov Katz, who's an author on books on these issues. Shadow Strike is Inside Israel's Secret Mission to Eliminate Syrian Nuclear Power. Just one of 3 books on similar things. Another one, Israel versus Iran, The Shadow War. And his next book, titled While Israel Slept, we're going to, I think it's probably about the 7th of October. And that's exactly what I wanted to ask about, which is this war is almost 2 years old. Unprecedented in Israel's history. Well, maybe we could say that the 6-Day War led to the War of Attrition, which led to the Yom Kippur War. Could be that it was also a long war like this. But the 7th of October was a failure. It was a failure of Israeli intelligence. It was a failure of the Israeli Air Force. And from my perspective, those are incontrovertible. But from my perspective, also a failure of leadership, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, who allowed the enemies of Israel to build up weaponry right underneath our noses, and who allowed money to flow from Qatar into Gaza, who voted for the disengagement. Many mistakes were made along that pathway. And I think that it's easy to say, Prime Minister Netanyahu, you were at fault. You were at the head of this. You were the head of the country while this stuff developed, and then you were head when it exploded in our faces vis-a-vis the 7th of October. In many ways, the last year and a half has been a redemption for the Air Force, a redemption from Prime Minister Netanyahu. And there were many who also claimed that he had lost favor with President Trump. And yet now it's obvious that that's not the case. So give me your understanding, Yakov Katz, on October 7th and this arc that has led to this attack on Iran.
Well, so this book right here behind me, While Israel Slept, which comes
It's already out? No, it's not out yet.
No, it's not out. It comes out in September. So just in about 2 months. Really goes into detail. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Of how October 7th unfolded, the failures within the intelligence community, the IDF, the Shin Bet, and the 48 hours preceding. But more, I think even importantly, goes back in time and really touches upon the policies and the mistakes that were made over 25, 30 years since Hamas was founded that led to the rise of this organization and the belief in a fairy tale that we could see an enemy amassing arms, training, and publicly saying, we are coming to kill you. And then
importing tons, literally tons and tons of cement in order to cement their tunnels underneath. And it's happening underneath our noses in a sandbox that used to belong to Israel, not so long ago. And it's happening right before our eyes.
And we see it all happening and we hear it all happening. And our answer is, you don't mean that. You just want money. So let's give you a suitcase of cash. You don't mean that. You just want us to let in Gazans to work in Israel. So we'll bring in 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. We believed in this. We had this state of mind that was off. And I think that's really at the core. But what I'll say is that, and Netanyahu was responsible for that because he was, what are you going to do? He was prime minister for that majority of almost all that time. But to the same extent, October 7th is like a coin with two sides.
And he, just before you say that, he also released the terrorists who became the leaders 100%. Of the October 7th movement.
Yeah, for Gilad Shalit back in 2011. So the one side of that coin is the disaster, are the failures. But the other side of that coin, Yishai, is the re-engineering of the Middle East. And that is what we have seen definitely in almost the last year. But I would say even more so since last September, when Israel took out Nasrallah, launched the Beeper attack, which paralyzed Hezbollah, showed such a deep intelligence penetration. We took out their long-range missiles, and we basically took them off the chessboard. And the moment that you had Hezbollah beaten back, still with capabilities, but now, as they publicly say themselves, not interested in joining this conflict. And Hamas beaten also, yes, still in possession of hostages, and we have to deal with that, and still to some extent in existence and in control of parts of Gaza, has to be dealt with, but not capable at all right now in launching an attack against Israel inside the Israeli mainland and home front. It goes to show, I think, that when Netanyahu is done, is he's learned the lessons of October 7th. And that's why Iran had to be dealt with now, because there was a window of opportunity. The price that we would have paid if we attacked on October 6th would have been much higher than what the price we pay on attacking on June 13th. And to all those people, and I've been asked numerous times over the last week and a half, well, they weren't building the bomb, or the IAEA says they were 2 years away from the bomb, and all these different things. So my answer to that is, I don't understand. You want us to be waiting for them to be connecting the red wire and the blue wire? Like that's the moment that we should attack? Why would we wait till then, till it's too late? We had a moment now. The lesson of October 7th is, take them at their word when they say they want to wipe you off the map. Take them at their word when they say we're getting more missiles. And look at what they're doing with just 3,000 missiles, many of which we've already destroyed, how much damage and how many casualties they're able to cause us when just 10% fall through and penetrate our missile defense systems. Imagine if they had 10,000. And that's what they were on track to achieve. Imagine if they were closer to the bomb and they had done it in a more hardened underground facility, and there was a different president. in the White House from a different party or from this party.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point. Like it's a little bit forgotten that just a little bit time ago we had a President Biden and a Kamala
It was
Harris.
only 6 months ago. I mean, this is,
oh my gosh.
This would have been, so, I look at this reality and I say, and I've long been a critic of Netanyahu.
Right.
But it's not a zero-sum game. It's not 1 or 0. It's not black or white. Netanyahu is responsible and he should be held accountable for October 7th. But today, I stand in awe of what he has done. What he has done.
Are you going to have to add a chapter to your book? Like, seriously, I'm asking seriously. Like, what do you do? Is that not a postscript that you have to add in now?
It'll have to go in at some point. This is true, into definitely the next printing and the next edition. But the
Yaakov, I need to tighten up here just because we have another guest waiting online, an important guest. Not that you're less important, you're excellent, and thank you so much for joining us today. Really fabulous analysis. But I still want to get your, and because of that, I want to get your. And I can't wait till that book comes out, but you're going to need to add that postscript. But I just want to get your take on 2 more quick things. One, what do you think the next steps are for Iran? Do you think regime change is out there, or, as my mom says to me, regime evolution more likely? What do you think is going to happen there? Regime change has been hinted at both by Prime Minister Netanyahu and others. That's one. And speaking of regime, our regime here in Israel, does Netanyahu walk away from this and be like, Asiti tikkun, I fixed what I needed to fix. I fixed the mistakes of the past. I'm coming out a hero. I need to quit while I'm ahead. That's smart politics. Always leave them wanting more, and this is your top moment. This is the time to leave and to let the next generation. What do you think about these 2 leaderships, Iran and Israel?
I think that in Iran there's potential. And I think that we know that the people of Iran have tried in the past to rise up against their oppressive, ruthless leadership. They are never our enemy, the people of Iran, and our leaders have stressed that time after time. And we have to hope that they find the courage and the ability to rise up once again. But I think that's on them. It's not something that we can engineer from this distance for a country that is 9 times our size in terms of population.
And an ancient country and an ancient culture. We're not going to dictate to them.
We're not going to do this. So they could they have an opportunity now. The regime is weaker than it was before. Seize it. It's easy for me to say. It takes a lot of courage, but there's an opportunity. With regards to what's happening here.
Just to make sure we understand, they take protesters and they torture them in torture chambers. We're talking about.
Right. This is not something that I can recommend to anyone to do, but I know there are courageous Iranians, and I know that the Iranians want freedom, and they might have that opportunity now to try to achieve that. With regards to what's happening here, I really could see it going 2 ways. I could see it going the way of what you said, that Netanyahu says, I've done my part. I did my tikkun. I fixed my mistakes of October 7th. I've created a more secure future for the state of Israel. It's time for me to leave the stage, close up the corruption cases against him, let the guy go home. At the end of the day, a patriot and a man who has given many, many decades of his life to this country. But I could also see going the other way, where he doubles down and he sees this as the opportunity to ride this wave and this success back to the ballot box and to try to get reelected again as prime minister. And it will be, he'll be able to put up a fight. And because really what he has done, whether you like him or not, you have to recognize how remarkable this moment is in Jewish history.
This is a moment of greatness. And I'll tell you a line that I told my wife before you came on. For the first time in a long time, I think that our children have a chance of inheriting a safer and better world.
I agree with you 100%.
That's just like a big moment. I think that as parents, we have to.
I'll tell you something, Yishai, and I know you have another guest, but just one last word.
Sure.
I've long felt since October 7th and the acts of courage, self-sacrifice, mesirut nefesh that we have seen of this people, not just Jews, Druze, Arabs, you name it, Israeli Arabs, what people have done to protect this country, to fight, and to turn the table could be a new book in Tanakh, if you think about it. Megillat Esther 2024, 2025. I mean, this is in 1,000 years. If somebody writes this Megillah today, 1,000 years from now, someone reads this. This is a modern version of the stories that we've read for thousands of years as people. I mean, it's incredible when you think about this, and you think about it in the historic arc of our people. You can't ignore the role of what it means to, just what it means to be a Jew, what it means to believe in our destiny and in our sense of peoplehood, in the Torah. This is something I think is so much greater and beyond than what we can fully comprehend at the moment.
Amen. And I think that if there is such a new pantheon of books, a new kind of a new canon of books, then your books are certainly part of that. A shadow strike inside Israel's secret mission to eliminate Syrian nuclear power, weapons wizards, how Israel became a high-tech military superpower, and Israel versus Iran, the shadow war, and your book that's right behind you, While Israel Slept, about the October 7th attack. Probably, I'm guessing you'll probably have to write another book about what's happening right now. Yakov Katz, thank you very much for this excellent analysis, and God bless you, and may we hear good things. And indeed, you stress the courage of Israel, and we are really seeing that. So thank you very much, and thank you for your courage as well.
Take care. All
right, Yakov Katz, that was great and a fascinating interview. And he's right. There is so much courage out there, so much courage. And that's juxtaposed with so much hate against Israel. We haven't heard from any Israeli officials. We've heard videos. Well, we heard from Prime Minister Netanyahu, but we haven't heard from any Israeli officials. And Knesset member Amit HaLevi is one of the strongest intellectuals in our Knesset from the Likud party, and has been challenging also Prime Minister Netanyahu to have strong policy. And I'm wondering very much about how he feels about today, about the Rising Lion operation, and how does the Israeli Knesset, how does the Israeli parliament, react to this? How much did they know, and how are we going to use this moment? That's what I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask Knesset member Amit HaLevi how we're going to use this moment to move policy forward, because there's still more bad guys out there. And do we just kind of celebrate our victories? Or do we say, no, hit him again, keep pushing forward? Knesset member Amit HaLevi, thanks so much for joining me from the Knesset.
Hi, Shai. Well, I'm at my house now, but still at work. So please.
What do you think? How are you? Did you say Tachanun today? Did you say the kind of prayer of asking God for forgiveness, or did you just listen to Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu, who said no Tachanun today, no prayer of mourning today?
I'm like people said we are like Ben Gurion. He didn't say Tachanun. He didn't say Hallel. He didn't say no. But truly,
that was a very inside joke. Very inside joke. Okay.
Okay. So actually, the truth is that of course we need to thank and to say Hallel. And that was a great week. I mean, in terms of from the beginning, from the marvelous, unbelievable operations of our Mossad and of our of the air forces and everyone from the Prime Minister, of course, Benjamin Netanyahu, that actually waited to this moment for decades, and till the technical. Professional that made all the...
Is this Bibi's war? Is this the war that Bibi has been talking about for 25 years, and finally, it happened?
Well, no doubt about it. I mean, the history talks. I mean, he tried several times over his career as the Prime Minister of Israel, and every time there were other circumstances and officials in Israel. The famous one is Meir Dagan, that actually made many things to avoid this attack, and now there was, many stars came together, and Baruch Hashem that we are here. These are the good news. The bad news, mention jokes, there are bad news and good news, so it's not a joke, but as you said before, there are still many bad guys. I mean, the real good news that Israel actually, I think, restored strength, trust of many people in the world, about good and evil, about morality and barbarity. That's the important thing here in this battle, because after many years of progressive education, they actually welcomed the radical Islamic groups, Islamic thoughts into the oppressive groups on earth, and actually justified the violence that they produced. So,
and Europe is full of it, right? Its progressive politics have now caused it to be just full of jihadism, and we had some of that here in Israel as well, didn't we?
Exactly, and the fact that the German chancellor, said that Israel is doing the work, the dirty work, as he defined. Yes, we are cleaning. Yes, we are cleaning the dirty ideology and the dirty people, and the dirty regime. And I think that first of all, this is the most important achievement, I think, of Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump, the fact that the international discourse is again about good and evil, about bad guys, as you said, and good guys. And that's why I think the most important thing is that this war will not end only with the important achievements of hitting the nuclear weapon projects or the missiles project, because this is not the enemy, Yishai. The enemy is the barbaric regime that has extreme ideology, and we must understand it, because this is the real nuclear bomb here in the Middle East. The real nuclear bomb is not the nuclear project in Isfahan or Fordo or Natanz. Yes, these are only the rotten fruits. What's the important are the roots, and the major source is the radical ideology of those extremists of the Islamic groups and
jihadism.
Scholars. Yes, the jihadism, and that took over. It's not only ideology that took over regime, and that's why it will be a tragedy if this war do not end with total victory. And when we say total victory, means not only the military achievements, but also the regime, because you must understand, and your viewers, I think they know it. I'm not saying new things, but I asked in the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee today the parameters of the rebuilding. After this destruction that the United States did and we did, and this is a really big issue. I mean, this regime, and this is his interest, and you must know they will make fake attack, the dummy attack. Yes. Let's say they will do something like that today or tomorrow to the American, and they will. They did it in the past, by the way. They will inform the American from the first place, yes, ahead, and they will tell them, let's make it's only now we are 1-1. They will not really create damage to the United States, and maybe by the Houthis. That's possible. They will give their proxies that this is not us, but we make a response. It will be a fake response, but that's the way they want to end, because they want to save, first of all, the regime, and they want to rebuild all their abilities, and they have time, they have patience. And if this regime will keep standing on his legs, that will be a disaster for us, because they will learn the lesson.
You're saying they want to survive right now, and if they survive, they continue their jihadism, they start to rebuild. They're part of it keeps going, and they show a victory that they were able to stand up to the West, to Israel, and to all that kind of stuff. I get that, but I want to shrink the issue a little bit to a little bit more in your playground. Okay, you're part of what's called the most right-wing government of Israel, and yet I don't say this as an accusation, but I say this as a kind of truth. I know that you've been fighting for all of your career against the Oslo Accords. And yet, in this government, we have not had one red sign that do not enter, no Jews, no Israelis are allowed to enter here into so-called Palestine, the Palestinian Authority. We have not had one sign of this removed. Not only that, our name around the world has been besmirched, especially young people, with Palestinianism as a replacement for Israel. Now there's a moment where we're striking back at one of the main funders, main supporters of Palestinianism. Is the government of Israel going to now take a step? Okay, we just took a step to strike at Iran, and America came in, they bombed them with the big ordnance. Cool. Are we going to remove one red sign? Are we going to declare the PA, to the Palestinian Authority, to be an enemy of Israel, a supporter of terror here? Okay, we know how to bomb far away, but do we know how to dismantle the junk that we built here that has been so much our enemy? So I'm asking you, as a leader, as a politician, as a member of the most right-wing government, are we going to take this moment of the rising lion mission out there and deal with it really a kilometer from where I'm sitting right now?
Well, I think you asked the wrong person, because, I put it this way: it's very hard for me to answer this question, because I thought we will do many things in, let's say, in Gaza, even before the Palestinian Authority. Although these are the same, same goals. They have the same goals, the same methods, the same barbarian methods, and the same goal to destroy Israel. Still, even in Gaza, and even after October 7, as we all can see, I'm not saying here's something new. I mean, Hamas is on his legs. I mean, we still didn't defeat Hamas, although we are, after 20 months and horrible prices that we paid, our families, our soldiers, and that's not. There is a reason for this, and Israel must. I do hope. Yes, I can join your hope and your demands that are totally, definitely correct, and you're right that this, the success in Iran and on the land of Iran will give the power and will give the inspiration to our government and to our military leaders to do what we need to do also in Judea and Samaria, because it depends how you defend your enemy. Because if you defend your enemy, the nuclear bomb or the missiles projects, so you can say, look, there are different arenas, and don't mix. We have here, we have there, let's finish there, let's do afterwards, we'll do this. But if you do understand that the enemy is this, as I said before, the combination of regime and ideology. So Gaza, Tehran, and Ramallah are the same, and we need to treat all of them the same, and the steps we need to do in order to.
But there's one difference. The one difference is that Hamas,
is our homeland.
Right. Well, Tehran is the state sponsor of Hamas, but I don't want to say who the state sponsor of the PA is.
Yes. Well, again, from my point of view, we need to have and we need a serious plan. One of the things that we learned from the recent weeks that Iran had, and in the committee, I mean, we knew it for many years, but it was published this year that besides the project missiles and the nuclear weapon project, they have the formal project plan, actually program to destroy Israel. Yes, the program of Israel destruction. That was a formal program in the Iranian regime. Two people, major people like Aluf in Tzahal, like General in Tzahal, two people woke up in the morning, daily basis. They have a huge budget, very, very, with a lot of details. This program is a serious program, and the same thing is the PLO. And that's why I think one of the conclusions that we the Jewish people, the Jewish state, need also to have strategic programs, not only to close, to finish with this problem or that problem. We need to know what do we want, how do we want to see Judea and Samaria, Gaza, and in this term, we definitely need a new plans and new operations regarding the PA, and maybe we should do it, step by step.
One of the things that I find that us Israelis say a lot is that we're not willing to govern other peoples. And I always challenge my brothers and sisters here in Israel and say, why not? All powers govern other peoples. One of the reasons that we create this PA, one of the reasons that we fund Hamas and now we're trying to fund other organizations is because we don't want to govern other people. We don't feel comfortable governing. There's some kind of allergy to Jewish power, Jewish rule over other people. The Maccabees didn't have that problem, but we've got this kind of problem psychologically.
Yeah, so it's psychology, as you said, and it's this is outcome of hundreds of exile. So we need to, as this famous states that said that it's easiest to take Israel from the exile, but not to take the exile out of Israel, because and those things takes time. You know that when our people 3,200 years ago, when they came from Egypt to the land of Israel, you could ask yourself, Yishai Fleisher, what is Yeshua ben Nun? How leftist he was? Why didn't he occupy Jerusalem and build a temple for 400 years? Yes, I mean, it takes time. It takes time, and I think I think we are in the right way, but we definitely need to. It starts from education. When you ask even the high-ranking officers in the army, you ask them what is Palestine? Yes, how this name actually came from, who gave it actually, and all those Palestinian lies. So we need to invest in our education in order to not only to be very strong in our beliefs and our Zionist truth in order to implement it. And it's all about state of mind. It's all about terms and values.
And that's why you are also, before you came to Knesset, you're a founder of a whole institute of education to teach nationalism, patriotism, Bible, and a sense of belonging here in the land. So you understand these issues very well, and you really are an educator, not just a legislator. But I want to just finish off with this and ask you about this. Sometimes I think that the war in the Middle East is about who is going to deflate whom. Who will make the other person the enemy just deflated, exasperated. Like, for example, Jews in Europe feel deflated. Jews on American campus feel deflated. But today, a lot of the enemies of Israel feel deflated. You know what this word means? It means like, okay? Yeah, it means like, you're done with fighting. Today, I was driving to Hebron. I just got in Friday. I flew in through Amman and got to Eretz Yisrael. I was stuck in America. And I flew, and today I'm back, and I wanted to drive to Hebron, where I work. And I drove there, and I stopped at a red light, and there was a lot of Arabs, so-called Palestinians, crossing the street right in front of me. And I saw their face, and their face looked deflated. They knew that one of the big sponsors of Palestinianism had been deflated. If not totally defeated, but certainly partially pushed back. Certainly not a great victory, not a great day for the Iranian mullah regime. You could just see it on their faces. They knew. And they knew on my face that we are, have a godly moment and a strong moment, and Israel is rising like a lion. How do I phrase this as a question? Yeah, go ahead.
Yishai,
you got it.
Tell you something. In order that this godly moment, and you're definitely right, these are godly moments, but in order that it will not stay as godly moment, but will be a real revolution, so it doesn't matter for us if the sponsor will be replaced, and then instead of Iran, you will find Turkey, for example. Yes, for us, it doesn't matter if the missiles are made in Tehran or made in Ankara, right? It doesn't matter, right? Okay, so we need, in order to make this to turn the godly moment to our permanent status I think it's all beginning with our belief in our justice. That's why I expect, not only from us, by the way, also from our partners from the United States of America, part of these godly moments, to demand that the Iranian regime will be expelled from the United Nations. We must repeat those obvious things. The fact that there is a state today, Yishai, that actually called to destroy Israel, yes, to eliminate the Jewish people from his homeland, and the whole nations wake up in the morning. This state still has finger, vote, chair in the United Nations. It's impossible. It's immoral. It's impossible. It's unexpectable, and we can't keep on with this. I mean, so the moral demand, it's not about Israel, and that's why it was so important that the United States and Trump administration participated yesterday, because it's not only about the power that they actually that they get into the battle and they did what they did. The important thing here is that we are shoulder to shoulder in the same moral front, and that's why I'm sure you well identified the faces that you saw, and we are in high now, and it's good. And again, what we did, I think the Mossad today is maybe the most important, secret services and then all over the world, and we did a lot. But our mission, like our grandfather and grandmother generation mission, is to eliminate this type of regime, this type of ideology. Don't give up. We must demand, and I'm urging your viewers and all of you have a lot of influence, many places, many congressmen. I think we need to do everything. And now, today, tomorrow, these are the days in order to push and to encourage and to Trump administration and his people not to stop only with this military attack, but to demand this moral status that that this regime will be delegitimized all over the world.
You got to delegitimize the delegitimizers, or else they delegitimize you. That's that's just what it is. Knesset member Amit HaLevi, thank you so much from the Likud, and congratulations. You're part of the government of Israel, and you, as well as the government of the Jewish state today, deserves as we say in Hebrew, chen chen, yashar koach, tzalash. You had a victory, and you deserve if we give you guys a hard time for non-successes, we should certainly give you positive feedback for a great success. And I want to commend you and the Likud and the right-wing government, Prime Minister Netanyahu, for this great day. And I don't doubt that it's going to be marked as a special day throughout history. So thank you very much for everything you do.
Thank you, Yishai. Thank you.
All right, folks, that was Knesset member Amit HaLevi, and you heard from the government of Israel. We're going to have one more guest on today. Before we do, my producer, I want to first thank her very much for doing a great job today. And if I could ask for some of these super chats that all the thousands of people that are with us from all over the world are super chatting on this very special day, this huge day. Heads and Tails says the need of the many outweigh the needs of the few, says Ambassador Spock. Danny, ambassador at UN, recently asked. I'm not sure exactly what this all means, but the bottom line is we have to take care of business. I think that's what that means. Thank you very much for your blessings. Let's see some other super chats that have been sent up and ways to support my show, this effort. Says Nico, Britain used to be America's greatest ally, but they've gone awry. Israel is our number one ally now. That makes you our brothers. Praise for the IDF, Mossad, Bibi, and Trump's America. Great leadership makes a big difference, ladies and gentlemen. Great leadership on lower levels. Never underestimate small politicians, cops, police officers, officers that are higher levels, judges, Putting in good people at every level is important. That's what I've learned in life. A good commander, a company commander, and going brigadier commander and going all the way up makes a difference. Bad cops, even one bad cop in a good country makes a darkness. Some friends of mine were arrested today for defending themselves from jihadist Palestinians, so-called Palestinians. And that's bad. Good leadership from the top down, but all the way through the middle. Always vote. Always care about who's going to be the local judge. Always make sure that the good people are hired. It's important. It makes a difference. Good leadership is important. Good leadership at the lower level encourages good leadership at the upper level. Good leadership at the upper level gives the direction for leadership at the lower level. These things are truly important. Folks, I want to remind you that it's important. Oh, says Daniel Donnelly, Israel was forced to conduct a war in Gaza amongst the civilian population because the Arabs won't allow any refugees. Disgraceful. Love from Ireland, says Daniel Connolly. Thank you very much, Daniel. I want to tell you that I was on Piers Morgan, and I said just that. Let's see if I actually have that video ready. Let's see here. Check this out.
First point about the Iranian people suffering at the hands of Israel. Well, that's not what the videos show. The videos all over TikTok and Telegram is of Iranians celebrating and calling for the end of the regime and thanking Israel and being on the side of destroying the oppressive regime that rules them. I mean, to deny that and to make it look like Omar's version is the only version out there is just a laughable joke. You could just see it on all over the social media. We see that the Iranian people want the end of that regime. They want Israel to bomb those nuclear installations, to have a safe Israel. I was in Florida buying a suit. Iranian lady who was working there, she saw that I was Jewish and Israeli. She's like, I love Israel. I want to help you. I explained to her what I do in this world. She's like, let me help you pick out a suit. You've got to save our people. She says the boys that are protesters, they get taken down into dungeons and their eyes get gouged out by this regime. Save us. Okay, that's the lie that Omar's putting out there, as though there's two sides, Israel and Iran. No, there's millions of Iranians that are with Israel. There are millions of Arabs all over the world that are with Israel and want to see the end of jihadism.
Right. So I said this, and then Omar Badar goes on to say, no, Yishai's crazy. The Iranian people stand against Israel. There's no videos like that, or there's like 3 people like that. Just check out this video that we played earlier. Look at this. This is the Iranian people. This is the Iranian people smashing signs of the regime that oppresses them. Yeah, so Omar Badar is lying when he tells you that it's Israel versus Iran. No, it's Israel versus the Iranian mullah regime. And I also had another section on Piers Morgan when I challenged Piers. I said to him, Piers, why aren't there any Arab refugees? Why aren't there? If you care so much about the, so-called genocide, then why don't you help make sure that people get out? They are getting out in all the other wars in Ukraine and the Syrian civil war. Millions are fleeing so that they can get out of harm's way. Why is it that the world doesn't give a damn about helping refugees leave, and they're okay with Arab countries shutting their doors to their own refugees and then talking about the supposed genocide? So I agree with that 100%. Jake Bennett is an international defender of the Jewish people and of Israel's rights in their homeland, including in Judea and Samaria and on the Temple Mount. Jake Bennett, thank you so much for joining me live. We are broadcasting from Judea. As you know, I got back to the land of Israel only Friday. I was hanging out with you in Washington only a week ago, and it was me and you. I guess 10 days ago. That was it. 10 days. Was it just last Thursday night? I think it was just last Thursday night. So I don't know. That's 10 right. Days, more like 5 days ago, that you and I were in Washington D.C. We were at an event. I was speaking at an event for Beitar. You were with me there, speaking to a lot of people as well. And it was something like 9 or 10 p.m., 9, that suddenly...
I think the strike came through a little after 8 p.m. And
people started commenting and calling out, hey, Israel's just struck Iran. And then when the speech was over and everybody was milling about and talking, we went out into a park and had beers with our friends in gratitude to God, to Prime Minister Netanyahu, to the IDF, to the IAF, to the Mossad, to President Trump, and we just drank l'chaim in a park in Washington D.C. and we just understood that history was happening right before our eyes, and we were part of it. That was an amazing moment, right? I'll never forget that moment, man. I'll never forget that.
It was such a feeling of relief washing over me, I can tell you, after 25 years or so of hearing about Iranian nuclear ambitions and hearing the old President Ahmadinejad talk about Israel being a one-bomb country, that it would just take one bomb to damage Israel enough that they could come in and wipe everyone out. And that sword has been hanging over our heads for decades. And we know it's been slowed down, and we know it's been held off through the Stuxnet virus and assassination several years ago of a number of the leading scientists. Very targeted, strategic, surgical strikes in a battle against such a threat against Israel. And this is a regime that surrounded Israel with a ring of fire. Talked about its ring of fire, 200,000 missiles up in Lebanon, in southern Lebanon, in the hands of Hezbollah.
And it was a ring of fire, right?
It was a ring of fire, yeah. And now over the last 18
you were describing it. You were describing it. I'm sorry.
I'll keep going. Sure. Yeah. I mean, in each of the places that Israel withdrew from, Iran filled that power vacuum with threats of genocide and violence. 200,000 rockets in Lebanon, however many rockets I don't know in Gaza. So many rifles. I mean, there are estimates of 500,000 rifles filling the Palestinian Authority in Judea and Samaria, where they've been making an active effort to destroy and damage Jewish cemeteries and holy sites and ancient sites where our people worshipped.
And murdering people on the road, including the wife and daughters of Leo D. And the reason I mention him right now is because news just came in that he lost his wife and two daughters in the town that I live in here. I remember their ambulances passing before me, these murdered bodies. I remember burying them, and news just came out that he has just been engaged to be remarried.
Wow.
So amazing news. But those weapons came through Iran, through Iraq, through Jordan and the porous border with Jordan into Judea and Samaria, so-called West Bank, and endangered our lives.
And from Egypt, everyone keeps forgetting Egypt, and I hear them talk about how great the land for peace supposedly swap of the Sinai was with Egypt, but 90 tunnels were found in Egypt, big enough to drive trucks through, and we know that weapons and missiles were brought through. And after October 7th happened, generals were implicated in this. Family members of the leading politicians and rulers in Egypt were implicated in this. That peace agreement was deeply, deeply flawed. They
Which
got
peace
something
agreement?
they wanted.
Which peace agreement?
The Sinai peace agreement. So Israel lost strategic depth. It lost that buffer zone, and it gained this horrible threat of a silently hostile power with direct access to a very vocally hostile population in Gaza. And I'm talking about Egypt supplying Gazans for their jihad with weapons through the Sinai, through that fence. And up above ground, you see multiple layers of fence and barbed wire, and for the world they show this great separation. We're not going to have any connection with Gaza, but underground, 90 tunnels.
So the Ring of Fire, which was in large measure Iranian backed, but not just.
Yeah.
Right. So you had
Iranian, Qatar.
Right.
And
So
also,
you had Syria. Wait, you had Syria and the Syrian regime supporting Hezbollah. Oops, excuse me 1 second. Let me just fix that. You had the Syrian regime supporting Hezbollah. You had the Egyptian regime tacitly supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, which supports Hamas with these 90 tunnels, including these large tunnels from the Sinai. So you had that wing. Iran also supported the Hamas. It wasn't a perfect alignment, but they had an alignment with them. They also had an alignment with another terror group, Islamic Jihad of Gaza. Yes. Then you had in Jordan, the Jordanian monarchy speaking a lot of times against Israel, the porous border there with weapons coming through. You had, we said Hezbollah, Hamas,
And Lebanon, of course.
Lebanon,
right
Hezbollah.
Lebanon also supporting Hezbollah.
And then the mother of it all, which was the actual procurement of uranium and the attempt to build a nuclear bomb, which they would have no doubt used against Israel by Iran itself. Then we had a few months ago.
Israel's been in a hot war for years with Iran. Iran's been in a hot war with Israel, and they do it through proxies, and they do it through acts of terrorism, and they do it through everything we saw on October 7th and Hezbollah and all this. So the people who are out there saying, oh, this is a horrible thing that Israel's done, they've expanded the war to Iran. Iran was always in this war. They were just sitting pretty far away, safe, because they were letting others do their fighting. But they've been in this war. They've been at war with Israel. They've been killing Israelis. And frankly, for all the Americans who don't understand who Iran is and what their role is, they killed, the administration says, 1,000 Americans in Iraq because they were providing IEDs and weapons to America's enemies in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Here's just a little list. Taking 66 American hostages, U.S. Embassy in Tehran, 1979, killing 258 Americans in 3 separate Beirut bombings in 1983, killing 19 U.S. air servicemen in Saudi Arabia, 96, killing 603 U.S. service members in Iraq between 2003 2011. Right there, it's over 1,000 already. Killing 3 Americans in Jordan, January 2024, attempting the assassination of U.S. President Donald Trump last year, damaging the U.S. Embassy branch in Tel Aviv last week. I mean, we are talking.
Threatening assassination of former Secretary of State Pompeo, also threatening the assassination of former Secretary of National Security Bolton.
That's right.
So,
but today we see a change. Let's just, I just want to play 2 short videos here just to give a sense of what we're talking about. First thing, kind of here's the roundup of what was achieved in the last few days.
Out of the Middle East, the United States carrying out a highly precise military operation last night, knocking out 3 of Iran's most important nuclear sites. We're getting our first images of the strikes overnight. 6 of America's 30,000-pound, 20-foot-long bunker buster bombs were used for the first time in warfare to strike the core of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. It's being held as an unprecedented and largely successful attack. The 3 nuclear sites targeted in this mission, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, significantly setting back Iran's ability to produce a nuclear weapon. Todd, send it over to you.
The other thing that I wanted to play while you were here and to translate was actually, I've had a lot of politicians on and analysts and Malkah, but I haven't had any, and Netanyahu and Trump and J.D. Vance, but we haven't had any rabbis. And I wanted to just play one video file from a great rabbi. Rabbi Shmuel Eliyahu is the chief rabbi of Tzfat and one of the spiritual leaders of Israel today.
Shalom, boker tov, איזה בשורות טובות.
Good morning. What good news we have heard today?
דבר שציפינו לו כל כך הרבה זמן, כל כך
Something that we waited for a long time.
הרבה שנים, שיסירו את האיום הנורא מעלינו.
That somehow this great threat that has been held above us would be lifted.
להשמיד, להרוג ולאבד, ברוך השם.
Because that the enemies wanted to destroy, and he uses the verse from the book of Esther that they wanted to annihilate and destroy the Jewish people in toto.
צריך לזה להודות לקדוש ברוך הוא בפה מלא.
We have to now thank God with a full mouth, with full-throated gratitude to Hashem.
חכמינו אמרו שאדם שומע בשורות טובות, מברך שהחיינו.
Our sages say that when somebody hears good news, you're supposed to say the Shechianu, that God let us live to this moment blessing. I think, is it not true, Jake, that when we were in that park in Washington, D.C., I said the Shechianu blessing out loud? Is that correct or not? Do you recall that? Do you recall that or not? Okay, just making sure, okay.
טובות שטובות לו וטובות לאחרים, מברך הטוב והמיטיב. אז היינו צריכים לברך הרבה פעמים הטוב והמיטיב, אבל עכשיו זה ממש הזדמנות לברך על כל הטובות שהקדוש ברוך הוא עושה לנו.
Now is the opportunity to really thank God for all the greatness that he has done for us.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם.
Blessed are you, God, King of the universe.
הטוב והמיטיב.
Who is good and does good.
שהקדוש ברוך הוא יזכה אתכם גם להודות לקדוש ברוך הוא על זה, ועוד הרבה פעמים הודעות. כשמודים לקדוש ברוך הוא, הודו להשם כי טוב, השפע ממשיך עוד ועוד, כי לעולם חסדו.
A person who thanks God is able to continue to channel God's blessings because God's blessings abound and they're continuous. But if you thank, you kind of open channels, you open conduits to more God's blessings. Oops, 1 second, I hit the wrong button here. 1 second.
כשמודים לקדוש ברוך הוא, הודו להשם כי טוב, השפע ממשיך עוד ועוד, כי לעולם חסדו. שיודעים שהוא הקדוש ברוך הוא נתן את העצה ואת הגבורה למנהיגי ישראל.
God, this is an important point, God gave us the advice and the courage. He gave us that advice and the courage. So we need to say, yes, the leaders had good advice. Yes, they had courage. No denying of that. But we thank God for that. And we saw earlier, Jake, both Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump really giving a full throat thanks to God for giving them the strength to do this operation.
נתניהו ולראשי הצבא ולממשלה ולנשיא ארצות הברית ולכל הצוות שאיתו.
He says Netanyahu and the heads of the army and the president of the United States and his whole staff.
את האומץ ואת הגבורה וגם הסייעתא דשמיא להצליח. כמו שהנשיאים וראש הממשלה אומרים במפורש, הם ממש מרגישים את הסייעתא דשמיא המופלאה שיש.
He says, yes, indeed, they are saying, the leaders are saying it out loud, and clearly, yes, they feel God's blessings and God's advice and strength and courage that he's giving them right now.
הם תכננו משהו אחד, יצא להם הרבה יותר טוב, מה שנקרא.
Look at this, Jake, look at this. Somebody just wrote this. I just caught this. Look at this. Christians cannot support Israel. We cannot support genocide and murder. No. You know, you could support putting your head in the sand and letting Iran murder its own people, supplying terrorists throughout the region, subjugating and subduing women and anybody else who doesn't fit the profile that they want, and causing world wars. That you're going to support, and closing down international shipping, right? Get out of here. Go ahead.
This comment is indicative of the problem of people who are completely ignorant of what Iran is and what Israel is and what's going on in the world. The people who say when Israel just hit Iran's nuclear facilities, that's warmongering. They don't recognize that Israel is the country of peace. Iran is the country of war. Iran has been pushing for war, calling for war and annihilation against Israel and against America for 46 years, since 1979, since they took over the regime. They are the warmonger country of the world and of the region. So when they chant every time they get together with the mullahs and they chant death to America, death to Israel, that's warmongering. When you fight back, that is not. But whoever wrote that, I don't know that person.
Yeah. Just notice tons of people are responding and says, sorry. He says, oh no, he says, here, look at this. Bible believing Christians support Israel. Just simple as that. A lot of people are writing that and they say, this guy must be ignorant and et cetera, et cetera. But okay, but it's out there. Listen, let me ask you this.
Everything. The people saying Iran's not going after nukes. Listen to what Tulsi Gabbard said in March. This is all fiction. This is all manipulation. This is all Zionist propaganda. Tucker Carlson saying, "Oh, there's no nuke." What? They're building half-mile deep facilities underground in Fordow and Natanz and Isfahan and all of that uranium enrichment is for peaceful purposes. Like, who could believe this unless you want to believe it? Who could believe it unless you want to be fooled? If you want to stick your head in the sand with Tucker Carlson, go ahead. But people with clear eyes see clearly.
The question is now the following. Will Israel's, you and I talk at length about the success of the besmirchment, if such a word exists, of Israel, the Qatari success at the influence campaign to make jihadism cool, to make Palestinianism, which is nothing but a replacement narrative that tries to erase Israel, cool, and Israel not understanding that cool is a national security issue, and that we've been outclassed in many ways by the effort to eradicate our good name, to erase the truth of the Bible, to make Israel's support of Israel something that you are going to be threatened by, because you're going to be under threat if you support Israel publicly. And we lament all that. And suddenly, to see this turnaround, Jake. Like, is this turnaround also going to change hearts and minds? Is Israel going to be more on top at the end of this? Is this going to change young people's minds? Will they understand it?
I believe it will.
What's that? Go ahead.
I think we're seeing it already. I mean, we're seeing cheers. We're seeing, polls that say 85% of MAGA people support Israel's strikes, are applauding and cheering Israel's strikes. The Tucker Carlson camp has been shown to be this tiny minority, and we're seeing even people who were with him before Trump joined in are now turning against him and saying, "Hey, Trump's our leader. We support Trump." So that 15% that was with Tucker Carlson 3 days ago has shrunk. How low has it shrunk? Is it now 5%, 6%? I don't know. I haven't seen any polling on that yet. But people are saying we support Trump and we support what's going on, and we recognize Iran for the threat that it is, and we applaud Israel for the steps it has taken. And an interesting commentator I was hearing on Israeli radio last night was saying, what did it take, to make this happen, all of this happen? Yes, Trump attacked. Yes, Trump and Netanyahu have been working together, and it's clear now the cooperation and coordination was tremendous and remarkable, and the operational security and secrecy was
what's
pristine.
the word in English for trickery? Like when you tell the press and the people one thing, but what do you call that? What's the proper term for that? When you fake out, when you, like in basketball, you fake, the fakes.
I think people get it. I think people get it.
In Israel, in Hebrew, we call it hona'ah, or hataya. We have a name for these things, like when you maybe in the comment section.
Trump said a wonderful thing. It was I don't remember what day it was. Very recently, I think it was just a couple days ago. He said I'm going to give Iran up to 2 weeks more of negotiation, and then he wrapped up that press conference by saying 2 weeks is the maximum. There we go. Moshe Herman chimes in, tactical deception. He said 2 weeks is the maximum. So yeah, 2 days. That's within 2 weeks. Yeah, tactical deception. That's good, Moshe. But what I was going to say is it took Israel taking those first steps, taking out so much of that Iranian infrastructure, all of the surface-to-air missiles, all of the air defense, and the amazing work of Mossad in country with the drone explosive devices that were built and stored inside the country there to be used at the time of attack. I mean, that was mind-blowing. That came out the day after the initial attacks, the Thursday before last. And people are like, wow, that's amazing. And when I now talk to people about what needs to happen next and what things need to be done, I have this sense of security inside that all the smart people over at Mossad are working on those things, working on those questions, asking the same questions and coming up with answers, and are already working on solutions to them. And we're going to be surprised when it comes out. Like no one foresaw the beeper attack and the radio attack, and no one foresaw drones in the country making these hits. But all of that gave strength to Trump to do what the president was not going to do on his own.
That's right.
The president was not going to do it.
I only hope that we also understand, and I'm going to say this plainly, everybody's asking like who the head of the snake is. And from one side, there's no doubt that Iran is the head of the snake. But when you analyze things in a different way, which is one of the ways that I analyze things is through the question of narrative, the head of the snake is Palestine.
Yeah.
The entity.
Look, the Oslo Accords were the twin pillar next to Iran of the threat against Israel. The Oslo Accords have been empowering because we took this concept that we believed in after the Shoah, after the Holocaust of never again, and we threw it out the window. We threw it out the window and we said, we are going to empower the worst Nazi jihadists there are and turn our heads and look the other way every time they do anything. So even, there were people who were supporting, let's take the Temple Mount instead of saying we're going to make this, we're going to deny this symbol of replacement, this golden dome and this museum of Palestinian heritage, which is on the southwest corner. They call it the Museum of Palestinian Heritage. I walked through it. All I saw were pictures of jihadist martyrs. And that's their heritage, and that's the only
On our
heritage that
Temple
we have to
Mount.
celebrate. And we let
Right.
that stand, and we've let that stand for so many years because we've had this policy of bury your head in the sand and everything will be okay. And after October 7th, less people are willing to do that, and that
I
is a
hope.
blessing because that has been our
I
greatest
hope.
weakness, and the other side wins because we never call it out, and we don't.
know,
We haven't
Jake-
called out the PA, the PLO, Islamic Jihad, Hamas. We delivered $300 million to them 2 weeks before October 7th because we were doing mafia payoffs to the 31 flavors of jihad. And here
Jake, Jake, my wife, I want to say something for the third time on the show, but I just want to say it to you, is that for the first time in a long time, I think our children might inherit a better world, a safer world. That's just
absolutely.
That's one thought. And the other thing I want to say
we were
is,
sitting on the cusp of a nuclear annihilation for over 20 years, and hearing people. I told you a story. I was at a meeting at the UN about 15 years ago, and there was a diplomat from Spain, and this was in a Jewish crowd, and he said if Iran develops a nuclear weapon, we will condemn them totally, and the whole crowd clapped. And I stood up and said, what is everyone clapping for? We're going to condemn them if they get a nuke. That is their ability to destroy our people, destroy Israel, and return us to the state we were in the 1930s and early 1940s while we were being annihilated. Is that the best you can do, is applaud that and say, no, I demand action? Where's the action? Where's the demand for action? But that's, sorry, go ahead. You were in the middle of it.
The second point that I wanted to make, and I agree with what you're saying exactly, and we are seeing action, but now, and we have to pray that it keeps going, is what you're saying. Like, the action has begun. And action, and I spoke to my mentor, Dr. Noam Arnon, today, and he said to me, who would have thunk that the effort by the Minister of Justice, Yariv Levin, more than 2 years ago, to do a reform in the judicial system of Israel, the judicial reforms, would have led to a great division in the country, which would have led to Sinwar thinking that Israel's weak and striking October 7th, which would have led to the October 7th massacre and then the retaliation, and then Hezbollah getting into the war, then our fighting with Hezbollah and the great weakening of Hezbollah, which led to the undermining of the Syrian regime and the fleeing of the Assad regime, which led to more destruction, the destructions of the Gazan infrastructure that's going on, and then the Iranian attacks on us, which led to our Iranian retaliation, which led finally to this American finale of an attack on the nuclear installations. Like, the world has changed in 2 years, and Malkah
in 2 years, and the world has changed in 2 weeks.
Right,
and it's amazing.
And Malkah said to me something that I wanted to say now, which is, she said to me, we don't believe in human sacrifice, ostensibly, but there's no doubt that all the people that fell on October the 7th and all the soldiers after that were in some ways they gifted their life to us so that we could have this moment of courage, so that, again, our children can have a safer world. And we owe them a huge debt of gratitude. And in their death, as they say here in Israel, they commanded us victory. And we have to honor their death and make their death meaningful by really taking this thing to the end and clearing out the threats and making a better world. I've been watching some of these guys that are on Piers Morgan and some of these haters, Israel haters, and I just want to say to them, like, but you offer nothing but destruction and hate for your people and my people in this region. You have nothing. You're lifeless. You offer no life, no chance for a better world. You just want to keep trying to destroy Israel needlessly and uselessly, because it'll never work. And instead, you destroy your own societies through that. And I want to finish off the show
100%.
today.
Can I just add on to that? The people who are condemning Israel's attack on Iran are supporting Iran's goal of the destruction of Israel and of the West. And why do we see radical leftist anarchists and the AOCs of the world and the Ilhan Omars of the world condemning Israel for defending itself? Because they sympathize with the enemy, and they sympathize with the enemy's cause. And the other thing that you were saying, I've been hearing other people say that same thing about October 7th and the price that all those victims on that day paid and how it's impacted us. Our friend Gedalia Bloom wrote a lovely piece about that about a week ago. But we're in a new world. But the threat that remains after all of these nuclear installations are destroyed is if this mullah regime stays in place.
That's right, and that's what Amit HaLevi. That's what Amit HaLevi kept saying. It's got to go. It's got to go all the way.
So there are, exactly. It's got to go all the way, and the Mossad and all those smart thinkers I was talking about before, they've got to figure out what is it that the Iranians need. Okay, 85% polls say are against this regime and want a secular democracy. What do they need to overcome the threats, the guns, the oppression of the IRGC and the Iranian secret police?
I don't need them to be a secular democracy. I don't mind if they have a benevolent king, right? Exactly.
Right.
Right. I don't care. I don't need a secular democracy. I'm not sure that the Middle East really does democracy so well, and I certainly don't think anybody around here is
with it. Though this is something that a lot of the Americans who are critical of the war don't understand. Is this country is very different from Iraq and from Afghanistan.
There's an ancient tradition.
And then there are people who say, well, what about the different ethnic groups there? Maybe some of them are for democracy and some aren't. And would it be a tragedy if this country broke up into three parts? I don't think it would be a tragedy if this country broke up into three parts. If it's going to be a secular liberal democracy whose goal is peace with the world, and some other group that's a little more backward, let it break up. Let it break up. There's nothing sacrosanct in the old Persian Empire from my perspective.
Well, I do respect ancient countries, and I do, but you are right that there are many different peoples in there. There are kind of different countries inside.
What does it serve?
In any case, I don't think that that's Jake. I'm not sure that that's my question here. I'm not sure that that's the question that I want to ask of how to break up Iran. I think that's really a question for the Iranian people right now. But one thing is for sure, and I think one second. One thing is for sure. One thing for sure is that a nuclear mullah regime is not something we can stand. Here's Pete Hegseth in his press conference today from the Pentagon about what the strike was all about. Let's watch that.
Did not fly, and it appears that Iran's surface-to-air missile systems did not see us.
Oh, this is Raising Cain, is that right? Is this who's speaking right now?
It's not Hegseth. Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's definitely not Hegseth, but I think this is the general of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Throughout the mission, we retained the element of surprise. In total, U.S. forces employed approximately 75 precision-guided weapons during this operation. This included, as the president stated last night, 14 30,000-pound GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators, marking the first.
In other reports, we heard 6, but the general Raising Cain here says definitely. What did he say? 11?
I didn't catch it.
Yeah, but there was a lot of these big things used.
Ever operational use of this weapon. I know that battle damage is of great interest. Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
Is regime change off the table, Mr. Secretary? And to the chairman,
that was Cain.
You said the battle damage assessment is still ongoing, but do you believe that some nuclear capability in Iran remains?
This mission was not and has not been about regime change. The president authorized a precision operation to neutralize the threats to our national interests posed by the Iranian nuclear program and the collective self-defense of our troops and our ally Israel.
Thanks for your question. I think BDA is still pending, and it would be way too early for me to comment on what may or may not still be there.
Excuse me, Mr. Secretary, can you tell me, was there a particular moment when the president decided to pull the trigger on this operation where he said, now, rather than being, something in the holster, now we're going to pull the trigger on it?
I would just say, having the opportunity to witness his leadership, he was fully committed to the peace process, wanted a negotiated outcome, gave Iran every single opportunity, and unfortunately was met by stonewalling, which is why he gave them plenty of time to continue to come to the table and give up enrichment, give up the nuclear program. But there was I won't say the particular moment, there was certainly a moment in time where he realized that it had to be a certain action taken in order to minimize the threat to us and our troops. Yeah.
General, you say that General Kurilla increased force protection in Iraq, Syria, and Gulf, in those areas. Were they given any advance warning the attacks were coming? And also, Mr. Secretary, when were congressional leaders notified? How long before the attacks took place?
Sir, to your first question, the risk has clearly been rising over the last few weeks in the region. Based on that, and not a particular awareness of this operation, we've made smart decisions to minimize the risk to U.S. forces in the region.
They were given no advance warning?
No, sir.
Another way of saying that is we let Israel take the brunt of the attacks and also be the initial fighters. Israel did the dirty work to clean out the whole area from all the surface-to-air missiles, and as my friend Moshe points out, defeated the Russian anti-air hardware that's on the ground over there, and that paved the way when that initial success happened. That paved the way for the big American bombing.
In congressional,
they were notified after the planes were safely out. Well, we complied with the notification requirements of the War Powers Act.
Attacks, they were notified.
They were immediately thereafter.
All right, so that's it's amazing to see Pete Hegseth as Secretary of State. I knew him as a Fox journalist and came to Hebron and we did stuff together. Let's just watch one more head of state, and that is let's watch President Putin and why he explains in Russian why he doesn't want to enter this conflict. I want you to pay attention to the reality that in Israel, there's about 2 million people who are former, that came from the former Soviet Union and the Russian Federation. It's almost a Russian-speaking country, he says about Israel. Yeah, I think he likes that.
Мы, безусловно, всегда в новейшей российской истории учитываем этот фактор.
Throughout Russian history, we take that into account. He really cares about ethnic groups that are part of the Russian sphere, and he's like, Israel's got a lot of Russian-speaking Russian people, Russian Jews, and therefore they're part of our sphere, and we're not going to do stuff to hurt Israel.
Это первое. Второе. У нас традиция.
Anyway, he goes on, but the bottom line is that he kind of like, says like, well, Israel's like a little bit of Russia, so we're not gonna hurt it.
The funny thing is, I think he really just has a soft spot in his heart for the Jewish people and for Israel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
even though he also has a soft relationship with Iran, and we know.
Business.
Yeah, that's business. Exactly.
One thing's business, one thing is personal. But there was I read about him. I read a short biography of him years ago where it talked about when he was a young man, he had a neighbor, a Jewish neighbor, who helped take care of him as a young man.
Right.
I think he had a single mother, or his father, pastor. They were separated. I don't remember, but he would come home after school and she would make him snacks after school, and he has a warm spot in his heart for the Jewish people. But when it comes to business, he needs oil and energy from Iran and China and all the places that will do business with him when the U.S. has cut him off. So he's got some conflicting interests, and certainly, for those who don't know Russian Jewish history, the Jewish people were always viewed in Russia as an outsider people, as the descendants of the wandering Jews from Israel, and it was stamped on every passport when it said your ethnicity, Jewish, not Russian.
No, but the word was not. I just want to. You're right, but I want to correct you a little bit, which is that the word was Ivrei, which means Hebrew.
Hebrew.
Which is different than Jewish, because Hebrew is the ethnic designation of the Jewish people, while Jewish is the religious or cultural observance of the Jewish people. So in America, we're Jews because we do Jewish things like Judaism, but in Russia, we're Ivrei, from the word like you are Hebrews. That's what you are as a peoplehood.
Thank you for that nuance. I've heard this from so many former refuseniks and children of refuseniks and people involved in that whole movement of refuseniks, of Jews trying to leave the former Soviet Union, and I never heard that nuance spelled out. That's very interesting.
Jake, Yakov writes, Yishai Fleisher, are you still in the U.S.? I am not in the U.S. I made it home, baby, to the land of Israel via Detroit, Amman, Jordan, or what we call Rabat Bnei Ammon. You know, in Hebrew, the word Amman, the people say Amman, but the truth is Amman actually has a biblical name, which is Rabat Ammon or Rabat Bnei Ammon, which is the children of the Ammonites. It's the capital of the children of the Ammonites. It's a very ancient city, Amman. And so it was an honor and a pleasure an honor and a semi-pleasure to travel through Jordan and to get home. Jordan, may have peace with us, but when you fly Royal Jordanian, they don't even show the name Israel on the map that you see. When you're flying in next to Israel, it does not say the name Israel. They still can't swallow that exactly. But okay. But I got home. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Yo, our producer, I want to ask. There's some people writing that their what do you call them? Their super chats have not been put up yet. Can we put up the super chats? He writes in Hebrew. Benji Alexander writes, Maya tochnita idealit l'ribonut b'Yehuda Shomron ve'Aza. What is the solution? What is the ideal solution for sovereignty in Judea, Samaria, and Gaza? I don't exactly understand what the question is, but I'll just answer it kind of simply. Judea, Samaria, Gaza is going to be ruled by Israel. People, that Arabs or other minorities that want to live there, who don't hate Israel, who love Israel, who respect Israel, who follow its laws, and are non-jihadists, are welcome to be residents in the land of Israel, maybe citizenship, but not necessarily with full voting rights, because we can't allow minorities that are minorities here, but actually a huge majority in this region, to seep in and undermine the character of the Jewish state. And so therefore, we have an opportunity. They have an opportunity to live in this land as long as they're non-jihadist, pro-Israel, and we say, ahlan wa sahlan, come on in and welcome and live well, as long as you're not trying to undermine the Jewish state. And Israel's got to assert sovereignty over those parts and continue to sovereignty over places like the Hermon mountain range, and protect other minorities in this region. I think that in the future, the Sinai should come back under Israeli control. Good question is what we should do with Jordan. After visiting there now, there was a part of me that thought maybe we should double down on Jordan being a Palestinian state, and double down on that and just kind of like say it.
It's say reality. It
right. It is reality. It is exactly.
It's been reality for 103 years.
Yes.
That was the original two-state solution. For anyone who doesn't know it, 78% of the mandate for a Jewish national home was lopped off by the British illegally, because they had a mandate to create a Jewish state in this area and not to divide it. But this was in the wake of World War I, and no one wanted to stand up against them. They were able to do whatever they wanted. So they created that Arab Palestine that they called Transjordan. First, they called it Arab Palestine, then Transjordan, then Jordan. That is the original two-state solution. So that's the starting point, is just speaking plain truth. And they called themselves the Palestinian country for decades, until they finally changed their narrative and let the PLO take over the narrative.
Right. But if you go down there, you see that Palestinianism is huge in Jordan. But you know what, Jake? We're going to leave that for a different time. That's just, we're going to leave that because today we got to talk about the Iran thing. Let's see that comment again, please. Urge all Jews to take heed to Rav Kahana and remain vigilant. Well, that's obvious. You know what I mean? It's obvious. Jews have to defend themselves and be strong. And Kahanism is a modern iteration of Samson, of King David, of the Maccabees. It's just plain. Jews have to be strong to defend themselves And what just happened now, you don't have to call it Kahanism. You could call it Netanyahuism. You know, bombing the bad. You could call them Trumpism, bombing the bad guys. All I'm saying is the Torah commands us to be strong. And being strong is actually healthy. It's a good brand. People understand it. The Arabs will respect you. And it's really a panacea, the one of the healthiest things. And strength, I say this everywhere I go, strength, Israeli Jewish strength is three parts of it. Military strength, which also is legal strength, meaning to say military is also police strength. You have to rule and be sovereign. Also in the Negev, also in the north, you can't allow the whatever they call themselves, if they could be Arabs or Palestinians, whatever you call them, or they could be whatever, you can't allow them. You have to keep control over your land and make sure the Jews aren't hurt. So one is a military police strength. The second is an economic strength. Israel needs to trade around the world. It's got to teach its military. It's got to be a great medical center. It's got to be many great things that are economic in nature and make regional and international monetary decisions that bolster Israel as an economic power. And thirdly is a spiritual power. Yes, Israel needs to recognize, and I think that today, Jake, we've also turned a certain corner on a recognition of our spiritual strength. And as I say, Jerusalem is the spiritual capital of the world, and we have to own that brand. And so those are three different strengths, and they all are make into one strong rope, this three-part rope, which is the spiritual strength, the economic strength, and of course the military strength.
And I'll add into that on the first point, the military strength. There's also, and this is Europe calls this a very American point of view, but there is a requirement, an obligation of people to be able to defend themselves and their own families and their own households. And we're seeing more of an appreciation for this in Israel, with the speeding up of processes for people's permits for firearms to be recognized, thanks to Minister Ben-Gvir. The reestablishment of rapid response security teams in Israeli towns and villages and farming communities that had been taken down by the defense establishment over the past decade are being rebuilt up. So that what in America we call the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, there's a responsibility to defend your families. And a lot of Jews after October 7th are really catching on to that. And even in liberal towns, anti-gun towns, I meet and see and hear from Jews who are going and taking
in America
classes. And what's that?
In America, you're talking about.
In America, I'm talking about in America.
In
and in Israel, for sure. There was a backlog of a couple 100,000 applications for permits. And I'll say one more point about that third point, the faith, the emunah. You mentioned earlier that both Netanyahu and Trump thanked God explicitly in their remarks and their comments, and I think that is very appreciated by the people who are listening, and also by our enemies, because they've been talking about their view of God, their version of God.
That's right.
Allah and a holy war and a jihad and all this time. But when reality runs headbutts into what they think was the reality, that Allah was going to lead them to destroy Israel and destroy America, and they see that the opposite is happening, and they hear Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump thanking God, that's got to make them think maybe we've been getting it wrong this whole time.
1,000%. 1,000%. It definitely bats down their jihadist instinct, and they say to themselves, you know what, forget it. The Jews, Allah's with the Jews. By the way, if you read accounts from 1948, today, they love to say that the Jews evicted Arabs in 1948 and they ran away from the war. There's many accounts of Arabs living in this land saying, Allah is bringing the Jews back. He's with them. There's no point in fighting them. Let's leave. Let's leave, not because of war, but because Allah is bringing them back, and it's in our Quran. We recognize Allah's hand because we are spiritual people. We know how to recognize God, and this is God's will. This is the will of Allah, and therefore we should leave, not because they're about to threaten us, but because this is not our land. This is somebody else's land, and we recognize the will of Allah. Jake
and
Bennett.
In the Quran, it says that multiple times. It refers to the land of the children of Israel. That's right. How it refers to Israel.
Jake Bennett, God bless you. Continue to do Allah's will, and to be strong out there. Be strong, Jake. Be strong.
Yes.
I'm Israel Chai. Be strong out there.
Strong like
and really, the nation of Israel is stronger today. And just like you said in Washington, D.C., that last Thursday night, you said to me, I feel a great weight has been lifted off me. I feel a great relief and a great beginning to cleansing out this great evil that has threatened us for so long. And that's the right attitude. Jake Bennett, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Yishai. It's been a pleasure.
All right, folks, it's been great to be with you. And before I leave, I want to thank Yo for doing a great job. Let's see, we just have another, we just got a super chat. Heads and Tails says, when we die, we go back to the source. You're shown your life and your choices, but still surrounded by love. If people knew this, they would cry. That's beautiful thought, and that's true. We definitely have to make an accounting at the end of days, at the end of our days, to the God above, and every minute in our life is seen and evaluated. I want to finish off the show by praying for. I want to first pray right now for the people of Iran. I want to pray for the people of Iran who deserve better, who deserve freedom. And I want to pray that they don't get hit as collateral damage, and that instead they're able to use this moment, avenge the blood of their relatives and friends, and clean that good and ancient land, and come back to the tradition of Cyrus, of loving the Jewish people and of helping build the temple. That's my blessing to Iranian people, is that like the Second Temple, you return to be a great empire, and that you bless Israel and help the Jewish people, the third Commonwealth, this empire of Israel, build that third temple. So I want to bless you for freedom, for safety, and for being a force of good in this world. And you maybe have an opportunity to fix that Islamic revolution that Iranian students brought in. Help fix that and help the world, make the world a better place. And I wish you lots of success. I want to pray for the good people of this world. I want to pray for Europe, that it is also able to push back against jihadism that has taken over Europe, England, Germany, Belgium, France, these places that have lost their identity through progressivism, have lost their will to defend themselves, have lost their knowledge of their history, and have lost their connection to God. I pray that they return to identity, to healthy identity, to a godly identity, to a cultural identity. What is it to be British? What is it to be French? There are beautiful things there. Don't lose those things. Don't succumb to jihadism, and get back to the good France that sometimes before the 6 Day War loved Israel, the good England that helped create the Balfour Declaration. Those good moments, I hope that you return to them and push back on jihadism. I want to bless the United States to continue to use this moment and to throw out and throw up and push out the dark energies that are trying to take over American campuses, American media, even Congress, and cities that are being taken over by jihadist influence. There's a guy running for mayor in New York City who's a sick puppy, who's a jihadist and a communist, and that fusion of progressivism, liberalism off the rails, and jihadism, the Red Green Alliance. I hope that we get through this advent of pushing back on Iran, awakens in us and in New York City and other places a sense of identity, a sense of Jewish strength, of the strength of morality, of the strength of recognizing what is evil. And I hope that young people in the United States stop succumbing to those lies. I hope that people like Kanye West are weakened and they are seen for what they are, which is insane, broken, people who are Nietzschean in their ideas, that they're trying to just bring power and might over goodness, and that's all that counts is the survival of the fittest. No, that's not the truth. God's light, God's morality is what really counts. And finally, I want to bless our country, Israel, to use this moment to continue to clean up. The cleaner we make it, the less jihad, the more godly, the more Jewish strength, economically, militarily, and spiritually, the better the whole world will be. Do the world a favor. Get rid of the Oslo Accords. Go back to our land. Push back on jihadism and accept it as zero tolerance of it. That's how much you should accept of it. Zero. And start building that temple. And at least start building that temple consciousness because we are indeed in the process of the third temple. God bless you, folks, wherever you are. I'm sending you blessings. I'm reminding you that there are ways to support the stuff that we're saying. Don't take it for granted. Don't think to yourself that just because Yishai is saying it on the screen and I agree with it, that it happens automatically. No, there are dark forces out there that want to beat us in narrative war, in consciousness war. Don't take it for granted. Help support it. Okay, go to buymeacoffee.com/Yishai to support this programming. We need it. We need editors. We need cameras. We need stuff. We need time to be able to do it. So help us, please, at buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. Go to Yishai Fleisher TV and go to the link of Yishai Fleisher TV on YouTube or the other channels and subscribe, comment. Help us with that powerful algorithm so that we beat the bad algorithms. We need your help for that. And finally, help us, our projects of beautifying the land of Israel, teaching Torah to the world, getting tractors to farmers, and all the other stuff that we're doing at fightforisrael.org, fightforisrael.org. Finally, don't forget to visit that Bible. Don't forget to drink wine from the land of Israel. Don't forget to look towards God. And the way to do it is to face towards Jerusalem and to pray towards Jerusalem. Don't forget those simple steps to making your life more God-conscious, more filled with the light of Israel. God bless you, folks, wherever you are. Thanks again to Yocheved, and thanks to all of my guests today who were just fabulous in this very special day. And we are to mark this day by thanking God. And Yo reminds us that on the Yishai Fleisher TV, we're getting close to 250,000 followers. Baruch Hashem, thank God. And by the way, you can also pray for us to not just get to 250,000 followers, but to get to 250,000 followers by spreading God's word and God's light and Israel's light, and not to just show cat videos, which, I mean, I don't really know about cat videos, but I see they're popular. But no, we're not trying to show you cat videos. We're trying to show you a way towards a better world, a world that's illuminated with God's light and with the light of Israel. God bless you, folks, wherever you are. Stay tuned, stay calm, stay connected, stay part of the story wherever you are. Lots of love and lots of blessings from the land of blessings, and shalom.